Yeah, they hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly. Yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they wanna come take my place? I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. This my vocation. Now I got rollies all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Squatting all black like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. Don't see the grind that I know that it came with. Oh. I ain't make it this far for myself, yeah. I had to prove to everybody else. I had to set them straight, yeah. I had to ball, so I had to renovate. I know they hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah. I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment. I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly. I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. Ooh, yeah. Why they wanna put me?
Oh, good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope my sound is coming in good. Shout out to everybody who's in the building right now, man. Good evening, man. Let me make sure we're good. Sound check. Sound check. Salute, salute, salute. It's a late night one. We're doing a little bit of a late night one, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, tonight we're doing late night. I was a little busy earlier today. Had some things I had to run around. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about doing my Tuesday shows in the evening, trying to, expand a little bit across the space, get at everybody, right? And, some people can't be there early in the morning, right? Some people, remember, we used to be in the evening all the time. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do indefinitely, but tonight it is what it is. Salute to everybody. Hope everybody's been doing their thizzle. Had a great weekend. This is my weekend, right? I'm off in the middle of the week, so that's why we do the show the way we do it. A lot to talk about, man. A lot to talk about, and I couldn't let it go by. I mean, tomorrow morning, obviously, we'll be up at our regular time, and we got so much to talk about then as well. But we got to go over the weekend and the things that happened this weekend with the fights that popped off on the cards. On the, in particular, the Jake Paul, Cesar Chavez Jr. card. An eventful card, real good card, outside. I mean, the main event did what it did, right? We'll talk about that as well. What the main event did, and what can come from that main event. But I think ultimately the card in general was a good card, a significant card in every division that the fights were happening, from the welterweight division to the cruiserweight division, obviously, as well. Significant fights that we have to talk about how that affects the future of those divisions. And obviously the big one on the table, which is the lightweight division, watching Floyd Schofield do his thing. That was a great thing to see, right? I mean, but we'll congratulate the Schofields. First of all, congratulations to Floyd Schofield Jr. and Sr. Listen, man, you got to give just due where you're supposed to give just due. And Floyd Schofield Sr. and Jr. came together. They bet on themselves. Senior's been telling us from the beginning about how much he thought about his son, where he saw his son, what he knew about his son, the capabilities his son had. Although there were moments during this process for the past year and a half or so, watching Senior go to the social media space on different platforms and speak of his son the way he did. Look, at the end of the day, the end product is what the end product is. We're going to talk about that end product, Floyd Schofield Jr., and we're going to talk about what that means for the lightweight division as well on the back end of a performance like that. And, we'll also talk about Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney. We saw what happened with Brian Norman Jr. for having a significant performance the way he did, and how things have changed for him as well. Now, an announcement being made officially that him and Devin Haney will be meeting up with each other in November. We got to talk about that, right? We definitely got to talk about that as well. I want to talk a little bit about the Terrence Crawford Canelo Alvarez final press conference. Of course, that was also significant. I thought that was going into that press conference on the last time we did the show, which was last Thursday. I spoke about what I wanted to see from Terrence Crawford, how he needed to switch it up, go up another gear, leave the antics, leave the funny guy, at the gym, and bring that serious guy that we've all been accustomed to seeing when it comes time to fight time for him, right? And I felt like he did. He dialed in. He spoke a little bit more frankly, and really dropped the whole entire celebration of Canelo Alvarez, and dropped the whole admiration of Canelo Alvarez, and got right to the meat and bone of the situation, which is we got a fight coming up in September. And really there's no jokes when it comes to that. We don't play boxing. I'm not playing with you. There might have been a little bit of confusion about where my mind is at. Maybe the big lights were getting to me. Maybe I've never been on a stage that big. Maybe I was getting caught up in the whole entire festivities of everything. Turkey Al Sheik rolls out the red carpet and makes everything so plush, and you just feel like the most important person in the world. But sometimes you got to get back to the basics, and we saw Terrence Crawford get back to the basics, and I was quite pleased with it. We'll talk about that press conference, of course, as well. Sit down at 168 a little bit. Let's talk about the 168-pound division, put it in perspective as things have moved around. In the past week, we saw Christian and Billy with that super powerful stoppage, first round stoppage of Melanecki. And we also know Diego Pacheco has a fight coming up as well at 168. So a lot of things moving around at 168 pounds. We'll talk about that as well. Turkey Al Sheik comes out with a fantasy card he wants to drop in November as well. Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney seem to be the one that's going to be headlining that card. We'll talk about the potential fights on the undercard as well that may be developing. You know how Turkey does. He speaks what he thinks and what he feels, but until it's on paper, we don't know what it really is, right? But a lot to talk about. And then ultimately, towards the end of the evening, we'll open up the panel as we normally do. We'll bring in some of the usual suspects, if they are in the building, to share some perspective as to what's going on in the boxing space, right? So let's first of all shout out to some of the people in the building right here. Let's see here. Let's go. AK Crowder, Kalia World in the building. Salute Kalia World. AK Crowder, blessings, brother Claymore and Ray. There's just Claymore tonight. But blessings to you, AK Crowder. Salute to you, man. The Lonely Fam Sports in the building. Salute to you, King. Hope everything is good. My God, Low knows boxing in the building for sure. Low says Devin is undefeated on paper, but not physically. Well, we're going to talk about that tonight, right? Exactly where is Devin Haney? What should we be expecting from that fight? Where's Brian Norman Jr.? Both these guys have a lot to gain off of this, and now the fight is official, right? We were talking about what if the fight were going to happen. People had different ideas and perspective as to how realistic the fight was going to be. Was Devin Haney going to change his mind on the back end of Brian Norman Jr. Having the stoppage of the year against Jin Sasaki? What was happening? Was Bill Haney capping? Was all these things that we had questions about? And ultimately, what did it come down to? Turkey made an announcement. The fight's official. So I think at this point, whether or not Bill asked for it or he didn't ask for it, this is the fight that he's in. We got to talk about where Devin Haney's at and speak to the elephant in the room, which is the psychology, right? And we'll be talking about that a lot tonight. We'll be talking about the psychology of boxing. We'll be talking about that 75% the weight of what really goes on in boxing and how much of this game is mental versus physical. We'll talk about that because I think that's a relevant topic in today's boxing conversation when we're talking about Floyd Schofield, when we're talking about Brian Norman, we're talking about Devin Haney, when we're talking about Tevin Farmer. We'll talk about a lot of these different fighters and the psychology of these fighters and how did that affect them going into these fights. We also talk about the father-son relationship and dynamic in boxing, how toxic that can be sometimes. But at the end of the day, a lot of these fighters and most of these fighters, when we have in these conversations, are they're in the next chapter in their career, right? When you're talking about Teofimo Lopez and his father, or you're talking about Devin Haney and his father, or Floyd Schofield Jr. and his father, when we talk about Brian Norman Jr. and his father, and the influences they have on their sons, and the ability to step away and allow their sons to become men, but at the same time still keep a close eye on them. What happens when you lose control? You lose a grasp of it. Like, let's say a Tiafimo Sr. and his son, where it seems like Tiafimo is very rogue now on his own. Not too many people can dial him in. Lack of a little bit of humility. Who's guiding, who's steering him in the direction that he needs to go into, and how healthy is it when that relationship goes sour. We've seen relationships go sour, like Roy Jones Jr. and his father. We saw Roy Jones was able to take it. Outside that, we saw Shane Mosley and his father and how that went. So we've seen this dynamic all through boxing. As we've been watching boxing, we've been seeing this dynamic for years, decades now. But when you see a Floyd Schofield Jr. and a senior and their relationship, and at moments it looks a little toxic, looks a little overwhelming, right? To see how senior has such a tight grasp around Junior's career and Junior's really just his exposure to the space, even to the point where even to this day right now, you see Floyd Schofield Jr. doing interviews and his father's going to be right there over his shoulder. Just, the pressure that it looks like from the outside looking in of his father just being there, measuring and scrutinizing or micromanaging every word that comes out of his mouth. At what point does he walk away and allow Floyd Schofield Jr. to kind of become his own man? But look, when you see a performance like what we saw this weekend, right? The end product, the ends justify the means. Is that what they say? The ends justify the means. So does the ends justify the means when you see a performance like that with Floyd Schofield Jr. and his father, right? So we'll talk about all those things for sure. Shout out to let me see here. Kalia World says, do you think EJ is going to fight again? Honestly, we'll talk about that as well, because I think we'll also talk about Gervonta Tank Davis a little bit tonight as well. We're going to talk about Gervonta just a little bit tonight. The PBC has an interesting thing going on over there, right? And a lot of fighters that people were expecting to see come out the PBC this year and even last year just haven't showed up. I think a lot of the onus has been put on the fighters up until this point to say that the fighters haven't been ready or they're not ready to return. And what's holding them up has always been the question, though. Well, what's stopping Errol Spence from coming back to the boxing space? What's stopping a Jamel Charlo from coming back into the space? What took Jamal Charlo so long to return to the space? What took Keith Thurman so long to return to space? A lot of questions, right? And what's taking so long for the announcement of the Gervonta Tank Davis Lamont Roach 2 fight? What's the holdup? Is it Gervonta having second thoughts? Is he nervous? Is he scared? Is he having reservations about the fight? All these different questions are coming out when it comes to the PBC stable and how things are delivered. And we've also spoke about David Benavidez and Samson Leakowitz having to, bring in investors to finance and put out the fight between him and David Morrell. And even, whatever offer is being negotiated right now with a potential fight between him and Calum Smith and what Calum is entertaining. And the PBC is an interesting topic. A sensitive topic for a lot of PBC fans, as they do have somewhat of a cult following, right? Just like these fighters do. But the elephant in the room is things just haven't been the same for the PBC since they left Showtime, right? They just haven't been the same. So when you ask me a question like, what do I think about EJ and is he going to fight again? I really don't know how to answer that, right? I think there's a place where I think EJ does want to return. But I do think yesterday's price isn't today's price. I think that EJ returning is in a certain way. Is he willing to concede or lower his value for now? Is he willing to be a company man and take a fight and, however the PBC organizes it as far as the pay structure? I don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on with a fighter like Errol Spence, right? I don't know. I don't know, man. We just got to sit back, Kalia, and watch it develop, right? Watch it come together and watch it develop. But we'll talk about a little bit about the PBC and Gervonta Tank Davis a little bit this evening for sure. And then what is the hold up with this whole entire Lamont Roach 2 fight? I've heard a lot of theories out there of promotion and marketing tactics. And well, look, we're in July officially today, July 1st. And this fight is supposed to happen. The tentative date was August 16th, right? We got to talk about that. How long? Marketing wise, advertising wise, promotion wise, right? All those words that mean the same thing in a different way. Is this the way we market fights? Gervonta Tank Davis. Is this the way we approach it? Do we just announce it a little over a month before the fight, and we carry it that way? Is that the normal way to promote an event? Top Rank has an event that they were promoting with Xander Zayas and what is the name? George Perez. They started promoting that a little while back, right? I mean, Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez have a fight coming up in September. That's 4 months away. They're starting to promote that now. I had the press conference just recently this week, kicked off the press conference. So are we going to go with that? Is this marketing? Is this genius? Is that what's happening? Are we watching marketing genius, or is at some point is somebody going to be willing to address this big pink elephant in the room? It is what it is, right? Shout out to Varice. Craig says Devin is taking Guy. He wants Devin to have a belt at 147. Devin is taking, okay. I don't know. I think I kind of get what you're saying a little bit, but not all the way. It is what it is. Salute to Mr. Big Play Bray in the building. Says, good evening, boxing family. Good evening to you. Dank Father says, Very says, okay, maybe this will put some perspective on what was said. Varice Craig says, I don't see Devin walking into that left hook. Brian just throws that left hook in the middle of getting hit. He throws it. I've never seen the IQ to set the shot up. He going to need that against Dev. Yeah, that's, and of course, that's part of this whole entire situation when it comes to Brian Norman Jr. I stated that when he knocked out Jin Sasaki, that the Jin Sasaki knockout wasn't a Brian Norman has arrived in the sense of now he's tried true. Now we've seen him tested, and we know what it was the eyes. The casual fan base had an opportunity to have something to hold on to, as a casual fan base has become accustomed to knockouts, right? They've been accustomed to loving that, and that's what they want to see. And that's one of the main things that pulled the casual fans into being a fan of Gervonta Tank Davis. And as much as skills as he has, as much pedigree as Gervonta brings to the table, as much of an IQ, if you're a hardcore boxing fan, you know what Tank brings to the table when it comes to that. That's not what attracts about his fans or the casual boxing fan. What attracts him is the knockouts, right? Or the idea of a knockout happening. Same thing with Deontay Wilder. Nobody was parading around Deontay Wilder anticipating him putting on a master class of nice jab, great footwork, great ring IQ, No, it was the knockout, right? That's what happened with Brian Norman against Jin Sasaki. It raised his market value, the casual fan base, the commercial value of Brian Norman went into a space to where now it becomes, and it makes more sense for him to get on the stage and get into the ring with a Devin Haney, right? This attracted Turki Al-Sheikh's attention to a degree, watching how he handled Derek Cuevas, watching the fight with Giovanni Santillan, and then capping it off with a Jin Sasaki knockout, the way he did the knockout. Okay, this is a big show now, a big extravaganza. I can't wait to see this kid in a big show. Let's put him in the ring with Devin Haney. So, yeah, I agree with you, Varice, that we haven't seen the IQ per se. In matter of fact, there's an argument out there to say that when he was in the ring with a Quentin Randall, right, when he was in the ring with a Boca Chica, these fights were very close. When they became cerebral, when they became boxing matches, when he got in the ring with somebody with a good jab, Brian Norman started to look very pedestrian, to the point to where, according to a lot of rumors out there, I guess, right, in the space, and I want to say even Brian Norman Sr. spoke to the fact that they were expected to lose against Giovanni Santillan, and maybe even their relationship with Top Rank might have changed on the back end of a loss to Santillan. They were on their last legs with him, right? So we've seen them struggle with those boxers. Getting in the ring with a Devin Haney is not going to be the same as getting in the ring with a Jin Sasaki. It won't be the same as Derek Cuevas. It won't be the same as Giovanni Santillan. Quite frankly, this may be an Achilles of Brian Norman Jr. We don't know, right? But that's what this fight is about, and that's what makes the fight significant for both of these guys, because it's not just Devin Haney proving something to the boxing space, or I know Bill doesn't like the idea of Devin proving anything to the boxing space, but maybe the boxing space has questions, right, or concerns about where Devin Haney's at, not skill set wise, but mentally, right? The psychology, as I spoke about earlier. Maybe there are questions there that need to be answered for Devin Haney, but at the same time, Brian Norman Jr. also has some questions that need to be answered. Maybe not for himself, maybe not for his father. They know what they're working with. They know what they can do. They know the wrinkles to their game and all the tools they have in their bag. But the boxing community, who's been watching boxing and watching Devin Haney, may have questions about Brian Norman Jr.'s ability to compete at this level. This is a high level of boxing that Devin Haney brings to the table. So we gotta see, right? We'll talk about all those things. Shout out to Eastside Easy, my guy, says salute Clay, my bad for the tardiness. Was out to eat with wifey and little man's late night bill. No, for sure, Eastside, you're not even that late. We've only been on for about 20 minutes, man. Salute to you. Salute to wifey, man. I don't know what you guys are eating, but I hope you're satiated. I hope you're in a good space right now and you're in the mood to hear some boxing talk, because that's what we're definitely going to do. Shout out to Pop Shop Talk in the building. Salute to you, family. Hope everything is good. Don't know if you're on the road, if you're chilling in your truck right now. If you're on the road, keep your eyes on the road. Keep them wheels turning. Keep on earning. But definitely good to see you in the building, and we're going to try to keep you awake and keep you alert on this boxing talk tonight. Shout out to Dude in a Bad Mood. Oh, man, I hope that doesn't last all night. Dude in a Bad Mood. Hope that fixes out for you. Says Keon Davis getting overshadowed because of the jumping is sad. He's next. Yeah, Keon definitely going to shake things up at 147. Definitely the future of 147. Part of the conversation of what's going on at 147 right now. Young prospect status. Looked great in his last showing. I don't know that he's getting overshadowed. Look, the DB3 debacle that happened a few weeks back wasn't the best thing for their brand, right? But, for Keon, he's good, man. Prospect level, a lot of people don't know about him. Hardcore boxing fans know who he is, but it is what it is, man. Not off topic at all, bro. It's boxing, Dude in a Bad Mood. We talk about it all here. Salute to my guy, my brother, Mazuma TV. Mazuma TV in the building. My God, yo, man. Salute to you, family. Glad to see you in the building. Mazuma, if you want, I can send you a link. Whenever I see you in the building, you know what I mean? It's always open. It's always open for you to come up here and build. You just let me know, bro. I can send it to you. Just let me know. You know what I mean? L Dub, the boxing plug in the building, man. Dub, during the show, I'm sure is gonna drop some information. Always dropping those exclusives, man. Salute to L Dub Boxing, quite possibly, right? The most informed inside source of what's going on in the boxing space when it comes to the YouTube community. Quite possibly, right? I don't know if he totally is, but quite possibly. L-Dub is just full of information, man. Salute to you, man. Let's see. Mr. Big Boy says Tank fight isn't happening until December. Is that what the news is? I mean, look, man, it's very interesting, right? To watch this thing come together. Just to watch these events roll out the way they do, especially when it comes to Gervonta Tank Davis, especially when it comes out to the big stars in over there at the PBC. Very interesting. Salute to Ross Cott in the building. Mr. Your favorite boxers or your favorite fighters a bum. Salute to you, Ross Cott. Hope everything is good, man. Says Haney better buy the best jogging shoes. I don't know if he needs jogging shoes right now. We'll talk about it. You know what I mean? This fight, I stated it last week, is a fight nobody knew they wanted, right? But as the story developed, as the Tiafimo negotiations fell to the ground, as the Times Square event came together, and there were still questions out there to be answered, and as Brian Norman Jr. had his performance with Jin Sasaki, the fight became very intriguing because we understood that there was a certain danger for Devin Haney. And it spoke to Devin Haney's character, as Devin Haney has always seemed to be open to fight these fights, right? To fight these dangerous or super competitive fights. He's always chased down the most competitive fights that he can find, and even his detractors have to admit that. So Devin Haney taking on this fight, what did it do? It just reinforced what we already knew about Devin Haney as far as his willingness to fight the best. But at the same time, those questions, the elephant in the room is, where's Devin Haney at mentally, right? Where's Devin Haney at mentally? Until he fought against Jose Ramirez, I wouldn't have said what Ross Scott's saying here. I would have been like, man, Devin Haney don't run. But listen, we saw how he performed against Jose Ramirez. His father said that was on purpose, by design, not on Devin. We saw trainers such as Shane Mosley and people in his camp who I spoke to when I was in Times Square who were expecting something different. I can tell you that, just having the conversation with them a day or two before the fight and what they were expecting to happen in the fight and getting us ready to see this Devin Haney, interesting, right? To see him perform the way he did. Even his camp wasn't aware that Bill was going to approach it that way. Why? Right? Why? Well, we'll get a lot of questions answered as to who Devin Haney is in November when he fights against Brian Norman Jr., who's a lot more athletic. I think has an ability to cut the ring off in a way Jose Ramirez doesn't or didn't have, at least in that night. So Devin won't be able to do it even if he tries to do it. And how long can he do it? Eventually, he's going to have to stand and handle business and address the issue, which is you have a very big puncher, quite possibly the most dangerous, dominant fighter right now at 147 with the removal of Jerron Boots Ennis. He's really aiming for the top of the food chain. So we'll get those questions answered. Salute to my guy, Coach Eddie, in the building. Coach, man, your guys making waves. Atlanta's on the map. Brian Norman Jr. on the map, doing great things. His father on a campaign, I believe, right now at this moment, if not at this moment, about 30 minutes ago or so, Brian Norman Sr. was on there with Ness over there at the Boxing Voice. Salute to the Boxing Voice. He's on his campaign. And Brian Norman Sr. has become one of those fathers in the boxing space, right? He's become one of those fathers who speak for his son. As his junior doesn't really like to get in the social media space. Now senior's starting to take the reins and become one of those fathers. And it's going to be interesting, to be honest with you, while we're watching Brian Norman Jr. getting ready and Devin Haney getting ready. It's going to be real fun and interesting to watch Brian Norman Sr. and Bill Haney kind of go at it with each other. It becomes competitive there as well. Also, keeping in mind that both of them are not only the fathers of the fighters, but the trainers of the fighters, right? And I've always thought that dynamic has been very interesting. When Errol Spence fought Terrence Crawford, I said, listen, that fight was going to be between Terrence and Errol, but in the same way, there's an argument to be said that fight was really going to be there between Bomac and Derek James as well. So we'll watch that. We'll watch that develop and watch that dynamic develop between Brian Norman Senior, and Bill Haney as well. That will be interesting, right? We'll talk about that. Let's see here. Malante Davis in the building. Salute to you, Malante. 100. Back at you, man. Back at you. Who else? Did I miss anybody? NHD Productions in a bag says Tank bet not be pump faking. Yeah, NHD. I don't know what Tank is doing, and we're going to talk about it tonight. You guys know where I'm at. I'm one of those horrible people since the PBC has gone their separate ways with Showtimes who have asked the questions, right? From the beginning, I asked, how exactly was this production deal? What was this deal, this new deal they had with Amazon? How was that deal structured? And how exactly was Al Heyman and the PBC going to facilitate the boxing matches the way they did with Showtime, where Showtime gave them a budget, being that Amazon wasn't clearly stated, not to us, at least as fans, as to how that was going to work out. How was that going to affect their ability to roll out these fights? We saw the year they had in 2024, horrible year, in my opinion. 5 fights on a predicted 10 to 12 or 12 to 14 fights. I don't remember the exact number, but ended up being 5 fights for the year. What was that all about, right? And then going into this year, at the same time, watching Gervonta Tank Davis talk about retiring and talking about how boxing wasn't treating him right and how he felt about the boxing space. And you just saw how disenchanted Tank has become with boxing this year in particular, right? And then the slow rollout of Jamal Charlo, the slow rollout. We don't know what's going on Errol Spence. I mean, literally, we were anticipating seeing Errol Spence early this year, making a fight with Sebastian Fundora. This never came to fruition, right? Held up the space, end up having to let Terrence Crawford off the, we just watched everything with the PBC. So, December, is it Tank? Is Tank who we need to be pointing fingers at when we're talking about this rollout? I've seen a lot of content creators speak on it from the space of Tank is the one holding things up. He's not signing some contract. He's the one who's having second thoughts. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But at the same time, there's a lot of things going on in the background that's also interesting that we're not, how long can we continue to make these excuses, right, about what's actually happening over there? It is what it is. Salute to NHG Productions, man. The Libra in the building. Salute, 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 salute. Keeping going down. My brother, Blue Blood Sports in the building. Yeah, Blue, sipping on this, what is Showbiz said? Mine is black, no sugar. We're not going to have sugar this late in the evening, man. Spike the insulin all after. I'm done with you. I'm trying to go to sleep, you know what I mean? But, I'm a black coffee drinker anyway, regardless. No matter what time of the day is, you see me, I'm going to be drinking black coffee, but I ain't going to lie to you. That's me. I know it sounds, some people's just, that's what I do, right? That's what I do. I don't put that creamer and all that sweet stuff in my coffee unless, I'm trying to have a good time, I guess. I go to Starbucks for that, right? That's just me. Salute to my brother, man. Teach in the building says, Bill said, that was by design. Hey, listen, Teach, it is what it is. And we can have questions about the way Bill moves, but And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about the father-son dynamic in boxing. And who are we to question Bill Haney if that was by design? Who would he question Brian Norman? And yes, as much as we are opinionated about Floyd Schofield Sr., who are we to question that? When we see a performance like what we did against Tevin Farmer, Floyd Schofield now at the top of the conversation at 135 pounds. Hey, man, does he get there without his father moving the way he did, speaking on his behalf the way he did, applying the pressure to, I don't know, right? He's there now, and he's there in spite of or because of his father's guidance that got him to this point, right? So, yes, Bill said he did it by design. Well, look, it's worked this far, and why would Devin question it? Why would he question a father who got him to become undisputed, who got him to become a two-division champion, who got him in front of Turkey Al-Rashid to get his biggest payday, and who has got him up to this point right now to fight Brian Norman Jr., potentially headlining a Ring magazine or a Turkey card. Who knows what the payday is going to be, right? Right? It is what it is. Shout out to Tay Bugs in the building. Says, Claymore Rain, what's good, family? How you feeling? I'm feeling great, man. As you guys can see, I'm losing this weight, man. I've been staying steady and faithful to my diet, man. You know what I mean? I actually going to start bringing in the weight training this week. So we're going to start getting everything toned and right. We're going to take it back a couple of years, man. We're going to take it back. I don't know how far back I can get, but we're going to take it back a couple of years. I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling awesome, my guy. Thanks for asking. Legacy remains till the end of days. Salam. Walaikum salam. Legacy remains. Great to see you in the building. Thank you, man. Salam's back at you, man. NHD production. Salute 2 Cents in the building. Saying one of those fathers. Yeah, man. Salute to 2 Cents in the building. Let me see who else here. I'm not familiar. H. Beppa, 1978. Salute to you, family. Salute to you. Let's see here. Dragonfly Jones in the building says, tapping in with the brother Claymore Rain. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here, man. I'm going to try to make it as good as possible. We got so much boxing to talk about. I'm going to go down the list and continue saying what's up to the people in the room. But we got so much boxing to talk about, man. I mean, and we got to talk about the undercard. We got to talk about the ramifications of a Raul Curiel and his performance and what 147 looks like now. We got to talk about 147 in general right now, right? Things are being moved around. Now that Jaron Ennis has left 147, things have been moving around. Brian Norman now and Devin Haney. Listen, so much to talk about. We got to talk about it all, man. We will, I promise you. Malik Taylor in the building. Salute to you, Malik. Is it Malik? I said Malik. Is it Malik? Malik Taylor says, how we not talking about Devin and his baby mama drama? Honestly, Malik, we're not going to talk about it too much because I don't know what's going on. And, this isn't a love and hip hop show, bro. This isn't what's the brother of another persuasion show? I don't remember his name. I don't know what his name is, but he has a show. This is not one of those shows, bro. I don't know what's going on with his baby mama drama. I have no real opinion on it, bro. That's not what I do, man. I hope that doesn't steer you away from the show tonight. Well, I promise we're not going to talk about Devin Haney and his baby mama. I'm genuinely not interested in it. Like, I really don't care. It is what it is, right? Let's see here. Keep going down the list. I think we got everybody, man. I think everybody's just talking right now. What does Teach say? Teach says, I'm talking about the fight with Ramirez. I heard Bid telling Devin in the second round or so, telling Dev he needs to set his feet and relax in that fight. Think about it. Dev got to buckle up. Yeah, Teach. No, I know what you were talking about for sure, man. No doubt, man. Let's see here. Going down the list. I think we're good. We got Sonny Augustine in the building. Shout out to Sonny Augustine. Says, we don't do gossip here. Claymore check-in with the link. Exactly, Sonny. Yeah, you already know. We really don't do that. Not with so much going on in boxing, right, Sonny? That's with everything going on in boxing right now, with the events coming up, with Shakur Stevenson and Edgar Berlanga getting an opportunity, between Hamza Shiraz and William Zepeda, and we're not even going to talk about that tonight in real time, right? But with all the things going on in boxing, July 19th getting ready to be one of the most epic days of the year, probably the most epic day in the year, stacked from the top to the bottom, from Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk to even Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios, to all these different fights that are going to be happening just on that day in particular. And this month in general in boxing is just such a hot month. Why would I sit here and to be talking about Devin Haney and what he has going on with his significant other? I just don't got the space on the schedule for it. Maybe next month, right? Maybe we'll talk about it next month. We'll see. But definitely not this month. Shout out to my brother from another mother, Fly Frequency in the building. Assalamu alaikum. My brother Bub's Boxing in the building says, but we went in on Tank, so we have to go in on Haney. I didn't go in on Tank. On what? As far as what? With Tank and his domestic issues? Yeah, yeah. Check the do your Googles. I didn't talk about that either. It's really just not me. I genuinely don't care about that stuff. Like, I really just don't. Like, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I'm sorry. I ain't got it in me. I don't even watch Love and Hip Hop. I don't watch reality TV. That is not me. Wifey, I think Wifey right now is on Ashanti and Nelly right now. So I'll pop up in the room and it'll be playing and she'll be trying to get me up to speed. And I'll be like, anything for the wifey, right? So I'll try to act like I care, but she know I don't give a damn. She know damn well I don't give a damn. Love you, babe. I don't know, I think she's sleeping right now, but yeah. If she's not sleeping, she knows I ain't lying. She'll tell you, bro. I don't care about none of that ish. Let's see here. Eric the Libra in the building. Salute. Eric J in the building. Salute. My God, Round One Sports Talk. So proud of that guy. Edwin at Round One, bro. Edwin, bro. Salute to you, King. So proud of you, what you doing, how you moving. I see the look, man. Always saw it in you, man. Always saw it in you, brother. And I'm just excited for you, bro. And whatever the space has for you, whatever is gonna come out of it for you, whatever's for you, whatever God has for you, nobody can't take from you, and you just keep doing your thing, man. So proud of you, man, and glad to see you in the building, man. Hopefully you hang around when I open up the panel up. I could see you up in the panel building with me tonight. That'd be awesome, bro. That'd be real awesome, bro. I'm thinking about opening the panel a little bit earlier tonight than usual, but I got so much to talk about. Let's see here. Yeah, Mr. Big Play Break. Salute to you. We really don't, right, guys? Like, let's be honest. You didn't come here expecting to see that, man. Shout out to my guy, Anton Zegas. I was looking for you earlier. Yeah, you didn't read the posting. I told you 9:45 p.m. I put a posting out saying last night I put the posting out letting the space know that I wasn't going to be here this morning. I had to run around and do a couple things, but I was actually going to do an evening show, Anton. But I'm glad you're here right now, man. You up late, man. I know I'm, fellow truck driver. I know you got to get to sleep at some point. So I'm glad you're here, man, for sure, man. Shadowbox in the building says, "Yo, Clay, who you think could realistically give Shakur the hardest fight of his career?" Well, look, man, one fight at a time. Right now, at this moment, the hardest fight of his career thus far will potentially be William Zepeda, right? And Terrence has said it before. Shakur has said they can't tell until after they get in the ring with the person what it's going to be. But I think this fight right here with William Zepeda is a breakout fight for Shakur Stevenson, right? Very similar to what a Brian Norman and a Jin Sasaki did, or what Floyd Schofield and Tevin Farmer did. Shakur's a way more accomplished fighter than those guys, but ultimately hasn't had an opportunity to have that breakout fight. You saw him; he's been working his tail off at 135, and between dealing with the ailments of hand injuries and however the promotion, his relationship with Top Rank was, having negotiations for Navarrete not even happening as he wanted to, unify and become a WBO title. We saw Dennis Berincek get that fight. We saw the Frank Martin negotiations fall to the wayside. We saw hand injuries make him look real bad against Edwin De Los Santos. We saw a fight with Harringtonian pop off, and people didn't like that. I personally didn't have a problem with that fight too much, but we saw the hand injury resurface. We saw a hand injury stop him from getting the ring with a Joe Cordina. We saw Floyd Schofield Jr. get food poisoning, and we saw him have to fight a Josh Padley. We watched Shakur Stevenson since he's been at 135 try to get these signature fights, and we won't even mention the fact of how much he called out Gervonta Tank Davis and how that blew up in his face and didn't work out for him. So now, finally, after maybe one or two dates having me pushed out with William Zepeda, him getting an opportunity to make this fight happen, this is a breakout fight for him, and potentially maybe on paper, I would say definitely is his most difficult fight he has in front of him. I don't know, to be honest with you, what fight do I think will be his hardest fight of his career? It'll probably won't be at 135. I'll tell you that. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow, because we're going to be talking about the Edgar Berlanga Shakur Stevenson co-headliner card, or whatever you want to call it. We'll be talking about that a lot more tomorrow. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. I don't think it'll be at 135 though. I think there's a good chance it'll probably be at 140. He'll challenge himself at 147 if he wants to go up there and fight against a Devin Haney. I don't think he'll campaign at 147, but there's we're weighing it out right now, right? We don't know. I'm sure Shakur's weighing it out depending on how open the division becomes to the big fights being made, because Shakur now in this part of his career looks like he's kind of leaning towards the prize fighting part, being that he's working with Turkey. So don't be shocked if you don't see him moving around a little bit. I don't know how long he'll stay at 135. It depends on how big the fights are at 135 and how much money is really lined up for him. 140 seems like there's a lot of fights up there that can happen for him. So that's probably where I would think the hardest fight might be at. But, well, we don't know, right? We don't know. Time will tell. Jonathan 97, salute to you, King. Hope everything is good with you, man. Thank you for coming in the building tonight, man. Salute to you. Josh 803 in the building. Shout out to you, man. My brother G Tatted up 215 in the building. Salute, G Tatted. I see you working, G Tatted, out there on Instagram with them videos. You are diabolical, brother. G Tatted up. Y'all got to check him out and go follow him on Instagram, man. He's dropping those crazy little videos, the videos with the different content creators and their heads being on like Juice and different movies and Menace to Society, and it gets crazy. I think the last one was a salute to Southpaw in some kind of way. I don't know what that was all about. Guys should know I don't tap into too many channels. I'm not gonna lie, so I don't know if Southpaw recently just got into it with one of these content creators, or I don't know what the story is behind that. But that was a funny ass video, right? Let's see here. Bub said, fair enough. I don't care either, but I have to be fair. No doubt. Bubs, I know you don't care, bro. I've seen your face on here, bro. How much can you care? You can only care but so much, bro. Let's be honest, bro. You ain't got the attention span for all that nonsense. You can entertain it for just so long, right? Let's be honest. He said, come on, bro. That's personal. Keep it boxing. I hear some questions on BFTV. I hope it's not the same douche. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. Am I getting through it? Boxing says, Johnny says, yeah, ain't that something? When it's Tank, they are quick to make content about it, but when it's Haney, they're absolutely quiet. And look, I think those channels that do that stuff are probably covering Devin Haney and his baby mama, right? I don't know. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will cover it. I'm sure they're covering it. You know what I mean? Not here, though. I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. Shout out to Pop Shop Talk in the building, dropping a $5 high in the building, man. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the color in the chat, man. Guys, if you did plan on putting color in the chat, don't be scared to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not scared of a little bit of support here on the channel. No? I mean, feel free to put a little color in there. Pop Shop says, regardless what we think Schofield putting himself in place to fight Shakur, he said KO Shakur. That call out been sent. Yeah, 100%. And we're going to talk about that as well, because Floyd Schofield now, with this new deal with Oscar De La Hoya, and I think there was some different parts to Saturday night. One of the biggest ones for me was Oscar De La Hoya, who it did seem like Golden Boy wasn't necessarily behind Floyd Schofield as far as his aspirations to fight these big fights. When it came down to that Shakur fight, Oscar wasn't there, right? Oscar actually had to step out the way and respect the Schofield's decision, but really tried to stop them, as he might not have thought he was ready for a Shakur Stevenson at that time. But now seems all the way dialed in. Wants to see him in the ring with Shakur, wants to see him in there with Javante, wants to see him in there with William Zepeda. Yeah, man, there's no going backwards, right? There's no going backwards for Floyd Schofield at this point. If he's not ready, he better get ready. And we'll talk about the significance of that Tevin Farmer fight, because as much as I'm going to celebrate Floyd Schofield tonight about that fight, going into that fight against Tevin Farmer, there were some questions that I wanted to have answered about Schofield for myself. I wanted to see Tevin Farmer test Schofield, and let's see if Schofield was really ready for that Shakur Stevenson level fight that he was asking for. And I don't know if we necessarily got to see that, right? I don't know if he was tested that way. So there's still some questions there. There's still some questions there about who Floyd Schofield Jr. really is. We've seen him look pedestrian at times, even though he stopped the opponents that are in front of him. But we've seen him make some mistakes, right? But in this fight, it did seem like he was a little bit more patient. He allowed the fight to kind of come his way, take his time. You know, we saw him even when it came time to finish Tevin Farmer, the way he dealt with it. But there may be potentially some questions that are still there about Floyd Schofield Jr. I don't know if Tevin Farmer answered those questions, but look, there's no going back at this point. His next fight is probably going to be an even bigger fight than Tevin Farmer. I'm not too sure who it might be against, but ultimately, time will tell, right? Time will tell. Let's see here. Anton said, flyers the Constitution, freedom of speech, and freedom of press. Yeah. Who's this here? Pull your card. Salute to you, man. That's a weird looking picture right there. I don't think it's a breakout fight, because the Peta style is tailor-made for Shakur. And how come when it's Haney, y'all are quiet, but when it's Tank, y'all are right on it? Yeah, pull your card. You're just kind of going off the hype, and you don't have nothing to really back that up, right? You don't see me talking about Tank. So I don't know, bro. Yeah, I don't even know how to answer that. So it's you though. Thanks for being in the building. Let's see here, man. Continue to go down. I guess I could get down and start getting into this conversation. Oh, Anton Zegler, shout out for the support, man. $5 in the building tonight. Said good night, fellas. Truck of life. Oh, no doubt, man. It's about that time. I know, Anton. I know how it is, brother. Thank you for the support, man. Thank you for the color in the chat, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, man. Arlington Stewart says they're saying that because Blue Blood Sports is always making content about Tank when it comes to something negative involving Tank outside of boxing, not quite with Haney, and they know you be with Blue. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I do be with Blue, man. That's my guy. Ride or die, know what I'm saying? But you know, Blue covers that well enough, right? If he's gonna cover it. I haven't seen him cover it, to be honest with you, but yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't care about Devin Haney and his baby mama, bro. Sorry. But I appreciate that though. You know, it is what it is. Pop Shop talking a building with the $2 says, if we being honest, we got questions about Shakur. And yeah, that's what this is all about. As far as breakout fight is concerned, yeah, it is a breakout fight for Shakur because William Zepeda is a pressure fighter. He's a fighter who can test Shakur in a way we may have not seen Shakur tested. And now with his hand injury coming full circle, looks like he's having a good camp. Seems like the hands are treating him right. It is a breakout fight. It's an opportunity for us to see him in a fight with what we would presume to be a dangerous fighter in William Zepeda, and see him in the ring. And even Shakur feels like this guy may be able to bring out the best in him. So it's a breakout fight for him. You know what I mean? His next fight will be his biggest fight, right? But the next fight he has right now is against William Zepeda, and it's a fight he's been asking for a long time. It's a fight that I think the boxing space has been asking for a long time, and it should check the boxes at the end of this fight, depending on how he performs in this fight, right? It is what it is. Let's see here. Okay, Adult Choice. Hey, man. Walaikum salam. Adult says, who is responsible for the boxing environment? Belts don't matter. I heard Schofield Sr. say it. Listen, we'll talk about that too, Adel. To be honest with you, with this whole entire belts don't matter thing, right? You know, the interesting thing about it is everybody has their role to play in that statement. I think the fans have their role to play in it, being that the fans have never put pressure on their favorite fighters to become champions, to unify, and become undisputed. I think the sanctioning bodies also play a part in it in the way that they've devalued the belts. You see how they just brought Manny Pacquiao in. He's getting ready to fight for a WBC title. We saw George Kambosos a few weeks ago come from 135 up to 140, have one tune-up fight at 140, and somehow end up high enough in the rankings where he could fight Africa for an opportunity at the IBF title. We've seen Errol Spence get shot up to #1 in WBC off the back end of a loss against Terrence Crawford at 147, and never not even having one fight at 154, and he was just automatically there at #1 ahead of everybody, right? Who was over there working at 154. We've seen the sanctioning bodies devalue. I think recently we just watched Jake Paul get ranked in the top 15 of the WBA rankings and put him in position to where he legitimately could challenge Zurdo Ramirez to become a champion in the division. Will he take that fight? We'll talk about that tonight as well, about Jake Paul. But the sanctioning bodies have also devalued, and I think the boxers themselves have become accustomed to seeing all these politics play out in the sport, and they've gotten to a point to where they don't respect the belts either. I think it comes full circle, and that's why you have Turki Al-Sheikh operating the way he is, and you watch Dana White and everything that they're bringing into the space, and how they want to create their own belts, and how they're kind of going against the idea of these belts, right? You saw Turki Al-Sheikh bring the Fatal Fury belt in. We saw Turki Al-Sheikh and Canelo Alvarez have an interesting interaction on the stage when it came to the belts being brought out. The value of the belts have been watered down for years now. So does this shock me to hear fighters like Tank Davis say what they say? No. You know, it shocked me a little bit to see Shakur even say that at one point in time, saying he wasn't even caring about the belts that much. But no, listen, even the legacy fighters in the space are not so caught up on making championship fights, becoming undisputed. We saw Devin Haney being undisputed champion, the youngest in the 4-belt era, and people dismissed that. They said, oh, he went and fought George Kambosos, and that was an easy come up for him. We just seen so much credibility get lost by these belts, to where, is it the belts that hold the value as much as it's the fights being made holding the value now, right? Now we want to see the biggest fights being made. Belt or no belt really has nothing to do with the conversation, right? So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to see that happen at, man. Addo, for sure, man. Shout out to Round One Sports with the $5 in the building. Thank you, family. I appreciate the support. Says Real Boxing Talk. Hit that like button. Show love, boxing brother, man. Thank you, Edwin. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for the support, man. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Let's see. Is anybody who I missed? Salute to Grail Sobel in the building as well. I think we about good, man. K. Causey in the building. Belts matter for the fights. For the fights who looking for legacy. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. Does it? Do you need a belt now for it to be like? I don't know. You know what I mean? We're getting ready to watch Terrence Crawford fight Canelo Alvarez, and clearly we've got Undisputed on the line. That is going to be legacy. But is that the last of the Mohicans? Is that the last of, I don't know, right? Who's pushing the fight? Dana White, TKO with Nick Khan, Turkey Al-Sheikh. These guys are opening up a whole new league, and they're not going to be holding down the WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, IBO titles. They're going to make their own titles. So how much weight is the belts holding? And is the belts, and does the belts really mean legacy as much as we want it to mean? As fans, me personally, I think belts matter, right? Me personally. But, just to stay objective in it and unbiased in the idea of it, we don't need to villainize it so much, because we watched the belts get disrespected for years now. Years, right? We just saw Mauricio Suleiman force Dimitri Bivol into vacating a title less than a month after he became undisputed to elevate David Benavidez, right? I mean, it is what it is. Libra in the building says, I hope you and Blue get big platforms. True boxing, no doubt, man. Thank you. Thank you, my Haitian brother too. Sagafet. You know what I'm saying? To my Haitian brother, Libra 926. Yeah, me too, man. I hope me and Blue can figure something out, man, and put something together. We've been speaking in the background for a moment now about putting this show together, a specific show. Obviously, I got my platform. He has his platform, and we do what we do there. But we have an actual real show that we're trying to put together, a real show, complete show. And hopefully we can put that together, and that can get some attention, some positive attention, right? Let me see here. Ross Scott said, belts matter. If Canelo fought Triple G for a non-title match, how significant would it be? Belts matter. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about, it looks like we're going through a little bit of an era change, right? Where boxing may be going through a little bit of but maybe it'll come back, right? With new champions like Abdullah Mason, who looks like he's about to become a new champion. I might be speaking getting a little ahead of myself, but I do favor him against Sam Noakes. With Floyd Schofield, in the conversation they have about unifying the belts at 135. Now we have new champions at 147. Brian Norman Jr. looks like he's very interested in unifying. So maybe we'll see a resurgence behind the idea of these belts holding the value that they need to hold, right? But just staying on what Addo is saying, about these belts and the significance of them, it did look like for a while these belts just didn't hold the weight that they used to hold. I mean, I can remember going in certain chats in certain rooms talking about belts, and people say belts don't mean nothing. When you talk about Tank unifying, what do belts mean? Arguments with some of your favorite content creators about the topic, right? So it is what it is. It'll always be a topic. Me personally, I can once again share with the space and say that I value belts. I think belts mean something. I think belts speak to who the best are. I think the best should be chasing the belts. If you are considering yourself the best in the division and you don't have a belt, then there's something inconsistent. There should not be somebody in your division who you think is better than you walking around with a belt that says different, right? You should go get that belt, and represent. You know what I'm saying? At that level, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Shout out to Mike Too Shady in the building. Says, what it do, Clay? What it do, fam? Everything is good over here, man. Everything is good over here. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It is what it is. So let's talk about it, man. Let me sip on my black no sugar. Let's talk about it. Let's talk right straight to the topic of it seems the topic of the week. Floyd Schofield Jr. versus Tevin Farmer. Guys, we watched this card come together, and most people, and me especially, wasn't really interested in the Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I wasn't interested in it. It was a headliner, but Jake Paul does this well. MVP Promotion does this well as far as putting him as a headliner, but the card's usually pretty decent. And this card was one of those cards. And I think the fight that most people that I know was looking forward to see on that card was Tevin Farmer versus Floyd Schofield Jr. We understood going into this fight how much this fight was going to mean specifically to Floyd Schofield Jr. And also even Tevin Farmer, even though Tevin Farmer really on his last hoorah almost, coming off of 3 very competitive fights, over 36 rounds or 34 rounds. I don't know how many rounds all added up. I mean, he had 12 against Raymond Moratala. He had 10-12 twice against William Zepeda. Fights where he came close to winning, but wasn't able to fully get there, right? He really had a resurgence. But this fight right here was a fight mainly for Floyd Schofield Jr. It was a fight that when we went into it, we said to ourselves, well, all right, Floyd Schofield Jr. has had a very interesting past year. With his father and the attention, and specifically, I won't go into the history all the way. And just to say, in his most recent fight that was supposed to happen between him and Shakur Stevenson, we saw how that game played out, and it didn't work out well for his brand. His brand took a blow, and a lot of the boxing space was kind of done with Floyd Schofield, right? You know, they were done with the Schofield brand. Most of it, I think, had a lot to do with Senior's approach to how he dealt with approaching the social media and things of that nature. But a lot of it also ended up falling on top of Floyd Schofield Jr. based off of his performances, right? The last couple of performances he had were pedestrian. He got sat on his pockets in his last actual performance and just didn't look like the fighter that in the beginning as a prospect we saw him in. When we talked about Floyd Schofield, you talked about Keyshawn Davis, right? When you talked about Floyd Schofield, you talked about Frank Martin. You talked about all these different fighters that were coming up around the same time. But Floyd Schofield, although he went up in the rankings and ended up as high as like number 2 or number 1 in the WBA rankings, well, number 2 behind a William Zepeda, right? It seemed like it just wasn't moving the way you thought it would. And we watch how those games played out between Floyd Schofield and Shakur Stevenson in Saudi Arabia, and we said to ourselves, damn, well, did he duck that fight? Was that by design? As Bill Haney said, it was by design, the way he had Devin Haney fight against Jose Ramirez. Well, did Senior, by design, have cold feet in the last minute, decide to pull Junior out of that fight and bring up food poisoning and all these different things? And we watched the buildup as well to that, as far as blaming Shakur Stevenson for doing some foul play with his passport or calling the police on him and all these different things that it looked like from the outside looking in, Floyd Schofield Sr. projecting onto Shakur Stevenson's team. But ultimately, watching how it played out in Saudi Arabia really just threw a lot of heat on the Schofield brand. And here now, on the back end of turning away from a fight with Abdullah Mason, a fight where they've always said they could stop Abdullah Mason, that he doesn't have a chin, and that's an easy fight for him. And Turki Al-Sheikh signing Abdullah Mason to a Ring Magazine ambassador deal, to where now he had the finances. They put an offer out there to Floyd Schofield's team for $1 million. This coming from Floyd Schofield Sr. himself about how much money was on the table, and they walked away from it. They walked away from it and signed a 5-year, $5 million deal with Golden Boy, and decided to go ahead and allow Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins, Eric Gomez, those guys over there, to go ahead and guide their career, right? We're going to let you're going to pay us the money. We're going to let you move us. And Oscar De La Hoya, feeling like that wasn't the fight that should have been made with Abdullah Mason, so we're going to put you in another fight. It seems as though Oscar De La Hoya has Tevin Farmer there as that gatekeeper, as he likes the dance partner that Tevin Farmer brings to the table when it came to time to fight in Raymond Moratala. Not Raymond Moratala, it was a top rank situation. But when it came time to fighting William Zepeda, felt like that was a good look, and really wanted to give Floyd Schofield a test, in my opinion, to kind of figure out what direction to go in with Floyd Schofield, right? Oscar De La Hoya at a crossroads said, well, it's barbecue and mildew time. Floyd Schofield Jr. and his father have been pushing me to get them involved with the biggest fights. They looked pedestrian in their fight against Rene Gueron. All right, let's put him in there with Tevin Farmer. And when you first hear the fight, you say, Tevin Farmer, you went to Tevin Farmer's Abdullah. But Tevin Farmer looking real good against William Zepeda. This might have been the test to really show us who Floyd Schofield Jr. was. The fight gets put together. We watch the fight, and we watch Floyd Schofield Jr. run right through Tevin Farmer like a hot knife through butter. Now, excuses could be made. Going into the fight, we talked about it right here on the platform, right, guys? And we said to ourselves, well, Tevin Farmer is going to bring all these different wrinkles to the game. He has a high IQ. He's going to test and take. He can test and can take Schofield Jr. into a space we haven't seen him in and get some questions answered. But at the same time, shout out to everybody in the building. Shout out to my co-host during the daytime, Ray Davis. Shout out to a lot of people who said, well, look, Tevin has been very busy. 36 hard rounds with some real punchers. Is Tevin Farmer going to be a shell of himself at this point, going into a fight against a Floyd Schofield Jr.? We didn't know, right? Going into the fight. I knew that if Tevin Farmer were to approach Floyd Schofield Jr. the way he approached William Zepeda, I didn't see that ending very well for Tevin Farmer. I really hope that Tevin Farmer would have gone into this fight way more on his boxing, way more movement, controlling the distance, taking Schofield Jr. into deeper waters, testing the kid's resilience, testing his IQ, right? Make it a cerebral fight and put Floyd Schofield Jr. in a situation that we might not have seen him in at the highest level. Unfortunately, that's not what we saw. We saw Tevin Farmer stand in front of Floyd Schofield Jr. We saw him try to keep this a mid-range fight inside the first round. Did he sleep on Floyd Schofield Jr.? Did he assume Floyd Schofield Jr. was just not on his level and just disrespect what Floyd Schofield Jr. actually brought to the table, which is a puncher at the minimum, right? Now, listen, Floyd Schofield Jr. and Sr., if you don't listen to him, he'll speak on how Floyd Schofield's been boxing ever since he was 3-4 years old, right? That he's been teaching this kid how to fight, and that this kid was cut from the same cloth as the Sugar Ray Robinsons and the Muhammad Ali's, right? And the Joe Frazier's, right? He was cut from that cloth. This is what Senior and them said. So it was an IQ there, and we saw him and at his prospect stage boxing more than punching. But we knew at a minimum, Floyd Schofield Jr. brought power. And I thought Tevin Farmer would have at least respected that, come into the ring and understand that at a minimum, if this kid has nothing else, what he does have is some pop on his hands. He has some pop. But if we pay attention to the build-up to the fight, we saw that Tevin was speaking about he thought he was stronger, bigger, faster. He thought Floyd Schofield couldn't compete with him on any level. A lot of that I was hoping was just him building up the fight and just kind of working the psychology of beating Floyd Schofield at the presser and at the face-offs before they got into the ring. But, we saw it develop in a different way, and we saw that Tevin Farmer drank his own Kool-Aid, got in the ring with Floyd Schofield Jr., tested the young bull in maybe one of the only spaces the young bull was going to probably be on the list of attributes, was going to be the one thing that I was sure he would dominate in. And he got Tevin Farmer out there very early, knocked him down 3 times in the first round, ultimately had a stellar performance, shook up the space. Nobody expected that. Now, new respect on the Floyd Schofield Jr., right? Brand new respect. Now, Floyd Schofield Jr. is in the conversations of fighting a Gervonta Tank Davis. Would have been in the conversation of fighting Keyshawn Davis if he didn't leave the division. Now, if Abdullah Mason gets a title, this becomes an even bigger fight. Maybe even he's got the attention of Turki Al-Sheikh now, who may have turned away from Floyd Schofield Jr., right? May I say, this dude played with my face, said he ate bad eggs over here or something. I don't know. He ate some bad, shawarma over here. And now he's, I ain't trying to mess with him, man. I don't like him. I don't even want to deal with people who want to fight. But maybe on the back end of a performance like what he just had, he's attracted some attention now, some positive attention. And Floyd Schofield is where he is now, which is, what is his next step going to be? I think that's what everybody's going to ask themselves. Right? I know that's what I'm going to ask myself. Where's it going to go? Because there's no more tune-up fights for Floyd Schofield Jr. There's no stay busy fights for Floyd Schofield Jr. Now he's in the conversations of fighting against a Raymond Moritalla for his IBF title, or fighting the winner between the Shakur Stevenson and the William Zepeda, right? He's in the conversation of fighting Gervonta Tank Davis or Lamont Roach, right? He's in the conversations of fighting the biggest and the best fights at 135 that can be made. And now Oscar De La Hoya has a potential star in the making in his hands. Is Floyd Schofield Jr. ready, though? If you didn't think Floyd Schofield Jr. was ready before he got in the ring with Tevin Farmer, after he got in the ring with Tevin Farmer, keeping in mind, of course, that it might not matter either way because Tevin Farmer had enough credibility in the space to watch Schofield do something to Tevin that William Zepeda couldn't do, and he's about to fight for a WBC title that Raymond Moritala couldn't do, the current IBF champion at 135. Seeing Schofield do something to that guy puts him in a conversation whether he's ready or not. But I'll ask the boxing community going into that fight, if you had questions about Floyd Schofield and where he was at as far as the upper echelon of 135-pound fighters are concerned, did those questions get answered for you guys? Did they get answered? Did that performance against Tevin Farmer, inside of that 90 seconds, did your opinion on Floyd Schofield Jr. change to the point to where you think he's one of the best fighters at 135? Right? Everybody have their own opinion on it. Me personally, I'm 50-50. Because even though it was only 90 seconds of Floyd Schofield Jr. fighting Tevin Farmer, I saw improvements, believe it or not. I saw some improvements in Floyd Schofield Jr. I saw a more poised Floyd Schofield Jr., not overzealous, not jumping into the fire, taking his time, really taking what Tevin Farmer gave him. And even in the way he finished Tevin Farmer, at times looking like he just wanted to jump in there, he still kind of took his time and allowed the fight to come to him. But he wasn't tested in a way, it wasn't cerebral enough for me. You know, you put him in a ring. Do I think he beats a Shakur Stevenson based off of how he fought Tevin Farmer? No. Do I think he beats a Gervonta Tank Davis based off of? No, I don't. Maybe a Raymond Moritala, maybe, right? But I didn't see him in a ring with a boxer. And the champions now are boxers. Shakur's a boxer. Tank, believe it or not, is a boxer. You know, Raymond Moritala is a boxer. William Zepeda, right? Maybe William Zepeda, he's a pressure fighter, and that kind of works out for Floyd Schofield Jr. with the way he likes to fight. So we don't know if he's ready, is my point. But he has to be ready because the performance he put on against Tevin Farmer, he has no choice. And at this point, it's time to shit or get off the pot. And it looks like they're going to stay on the pot and take that dump, right? It looks like they're going to sit on it. They believe it. They've been campaigning for the past year and a half. Schofield Sr. has been campaigning for his son to get the biggest fights. And it looks like now the eyes are all on Schofield and the team. And now we're going to find out one way or another who Floyd Schofield is. We're going to find out one way or another because now he's earned the right. You can't take it away from him. On paper, that fight was a big, big, big victory for Floyd Schofield Jr. And visually to the casual fan base, he's must-see boxing for a lot of casual fans. So whether or not Floyd Schofield Jr. is ready or not ready makes no difference at this point. He's there. What's the next fight going to be for him? Your guess is as good as mine. I would keep an eye on the Shakur Stevenson William Zepeda fight coming up next week. That's why my eyes would be for now, but you never know, right? He is highly ranked in the WBA sanctioning body. Gervonta Tank Davis, we haven't heard what's going to happen between him and Lamont Roach as far as a date's been put out there, so we can't really put him in the conversation, but he does seem to be next in line on paper to fight a Gervonta Tank Davis. But right now, listen, Oscar De La Hoya can do his thing right now and talk about his fighter in a big way and put him in the biggest fights. And he could potentially be an A-side to a lot of conversations right now at 135 based off that performance, right? We'll see what ends up happening. Now, also on that fight card was a very interesting fight that I thought held a little weight with me. Well, let me segue outside of that card for a second. Let's shout out Deontay Wilder for a second there. And I know a lot of people are going to want to throw shots at Deontay. I can be honest and say Deontay Wilder, I think he's about done, right? That's my personal opinion based on the performance he had against Herndon this weekend. But he made his return. He got a victory. We saw him work his jab a little bit more. We saw him be a little bit more poised, but we also saw him in front of a fighter who was a punching bag, right? Who was moving around a lot, not really engaging Deontay that much, and really made Deontay comfortable, right? But at the end of the day, is Deontay Wilder ready to fight anybody in the top 10 in the heavyweight division. I didn't see any evidence of that in that particular fight. If I were to put Deontay Wilder in the heavyweight division right now conversation, it would be based off of 3 to 4 years ago, Deontay Wilder. I couldn't say that I saw anything in the Joseph Parker fight that would make me put him in a heavyweight conversation. As far as the top 10 go, I didn't see nothing happen in the Zhilei Zhang fight that would lead me to believe he can compete there. And I didn't see nothing in the Herndon fight either. Sorry. Father Time is a mother. The rest of the word is undefeated. Deontay Wilder, you get to a certain age where the experience is going to separate you from your peers. And I don't think Deontay Wilder's experience has led him into being a boxer. He's always been an athletic puncher. His athleticism and his punching power, for me, is what separated Deontay Wilder from other fighters in the division. Kept him in conversations that he wouldn't be in based off skill set. But based off that powerful right hand and his ability to set that up, and his athleticism, his ability to throw it from different angles and things of that nature, he was an interesting fight to watch in the heavyweight division. But it doesn't seem like he has any of that. I think somebody said, I don't know who said it. Was it Greg Hackett? It might have been Greg Hackett who said he looked like a retired basketball player. Bad knees, you know what I mean? Bad joints. He just looked like an athlete who was done in the sport. It doesn't look like, it treated him right. It looked like he looked like if you see Reggie Miller walk into the building, or if you see, Shaquille O'Neal walk into the building, or just an old fighter who's not going to be able to compete at that level. So yeah, keep it light on Deontay. Salute to him for doing what he's done in the heavyweight division. I think it's like something like 10 title defenses as a WBC champion. At one point, we wanted to see him in the biggest fights in the heavyweight division, specifically between him and Anthony Joshua. Now, if you have some nostalgia about Deontay Wilder, you may want to still see him in the ring with Anthony Joshua. But I think Anthony Joshua would make waste of him. I just don't think he's there. I think that's the next fight he should put together. I'll be honest with you. If he's going to put a fight together, I would say that's the fight he should put together. Don't even take a tune-up. Don't risk it. I think anybody can get Deontay Wilder now from as low on the totem pole as, let's say, Philip Ergovich or Moses Atuma, to a G. Cabell, to a Joseph Parker, to obviously a Daniel Dubois. He needs to stay away from those guys. Even a Derek Chisora right now, a Joe Torres right now. I'll probably get it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll get out of Deontay Wilder. So what would a tune-up fight be for Deontay? He probably should stay clear of the tune-ups, get himself as ready as best as he can, and try to see if he can make some sort of big fight happen with Anthony Joshua, get a big payday. The nostalgia will be there for the people who know the history of Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. And, for whatever it's worth, that'll happen. If he does get knocked out, which I wouldn't be shocked if he did, at least he'll get that big payday, and the boxing fans may get a fight that they want to see for years. This might be right next to Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, right? Just for the nostalgia, just for the nostalgia. It is what it is, right? Yeah, Andy Ruiz as well, champion, would kill Deontay. Yeah, Deontay just a shell of himself, But we can celebrate him for what it is, right? Coming full circle, though, I wanted to speak on Raul Carrillo, man. Raul Carrillo defeated Victor Rodriguez, 4th round TKO. This guy last year had a potential fight of the year candidate between him and Alexis Rocha. And this year showed and proved that he may be one of the up-and-coming stars on the Golden Boy roster, right? At 147 now, with this victory, putting him in the conversation at a very high ranking in the WBA conversation. And we know who the title holder is in that division right now. An interim title holder still, right? As I don't know if Jerron Boots Ennis has completely vacated those titles he has at 147 yet. He would be the WBA champion right now. Rolly Romero holding that interim title. Raul Carrillo seems like the fighter who may be in line to potentially ask for a fight with Rolly Romero. Now, obviously, we got G-Soft, right? Shakram Giasov, who's there as I think a mandatory for that WBA title. At least he was when Stanionis had that title. So he may be in the conversation. He may be having a little seniority in the conversation. But Raul Carriel, what an exciting fighter. Really brings that Mexican pride to the ring. It seems like the community is getting behind him. He talks that Mexican Spanish, that Mexican so well, but at the same time has a real good grasp on the English language. He really has those intangibles that Oscar De La Hoya could really capitalize off of with him, and we can see him shake it up a little bit, and at a minimum be a great dance partner at 147 for some of your favorite fighters, right? For some of your favorite fighters. So keep an eye on Raul Carriel. A lot of combinations, power shots, leaves it all in there. Mexican, flat-footed, coming forward. Just an exciting fighter to watch. How does that translate in front of a Brian Norman Jr.? How does that translate in front of a Rohan Polanco, right? How does that translate in front of even a Mario Barrios or Manny Pacquiao if he beats Mario Barrios, right? How does that translate in front of a Devin Haney? I just think he's a great dance partner, somebody to keep an eye on. Did a real good job, one of the standout fights of that night. Shout out to Raul Carriel. Shout out to Julian Rodriguez with the upset over ABS Griffin. ABS, listen, man, it comes down to being tested. And ABS Griffin, who had like a perfect knockout record, knocking everybody out, was one of those fighters who, when it came time to show that pedigree, when it came time for him to show the ability to slow the game down and be that boxer, fell real short against Julian Rodriguez, who came in with a huge amateur background, 200 plus fights as an amateur, and really just outclassed ABS Griffin from round one on, damn near, right? He did get a knockdown on Julian Rodriguez, more of a flash knockdown in comparison to what Julian Rodriguez was able to do ultimately in the last seconds of the last round and stopping ABS Griffin. Now Julian Rodriguez shaking it up as well, right? So we'll see what he does in that division and see what he's able to bring to the space. An exciting fighter in his own right. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. We can tap into Zurdo Ramirez as well, getting a victory over Yornel Dortico. Zurdo Ramirez, I hate to say it that way, but he does give me that David Benavidez energy, right? Punches in bunches, a lot of combination. He has some athleticism. He's got a beard on him too, able to take some shots from a Yornel Dortico, who's a real puncher in the cruiserweight division. And obviously, we know he's a unified champion in the division, and we know that the big fight to happen on the back end of this victory would be between him and Jai Opetaia. But also, interestingly enough, watching how things were developing between this whole Jake Paul situation. Should we talk about the Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez? Do we need to talk about that, man? Do we need to talk about Jake Paul? Maybe we should talk about it a little bit, right? Jake Paul being the headliner of this card and getting in the ring with a Julio Cesar Chavez, who we know Julio Cesar Chavez. We know this man has not been committed to the sport, an embarrassment probably to his father, the legendary Cesar Chavez Sr., who without a doubt has to be disappointed in what's happened with his son and where his son has ended up. Seemed to be an opportunity for Cesar Chavez Jr. for some redemption, right? As far as how lightly and how much disrespect he's had for the sport, lack of respect he's had for the legacy that his name represents. This seemed to be an opportunity for him to step up and do something for boxing, right? And he would have been celebrated for it as well. And I kind of hope that he would step up. We watch him be a punching bag, right? We watch him not do anything until maybe round 8 on. But round 8, for give him his respect, maybe towards the end of round 7, 8, 9, and 10, he did show up, right? All of a sudden started to show you some glimmer of hope of what the fight could have been. And we saw a gassed Jake Paul, which this could be an issue with him. It's just not the first time we've seen Jake Paul have issues with his conditioning, dealing with these, especially with these older fighters where he's just letting his hands go for like the first 5 to 7 rounds and then becoming winded in the championship rounds. We saw Cesar Chavez try to take advantage of that, and it got a little exciting. Like, okay, maybe he'll do something, but he didn't. And that fight significant for Jake Paul, probably being his first real, professional fighter, ex-champion fighter in Cesar Chavez, put him in the conversation as the WBA puts him in the rankings now and puts him in a position to potentially challenge Zurdo Ramirez. At this point in the game, Jake Paul, who's been campaigning and recently tried to campaign and put a fight together against Canelo Alvarez, at this point in the game, no, I'm not going to ask that question because I know how this community feels about it. Has the boxing space had enough at this point? Have they seen enough from Jake Paul at this point to where the facade is gone? Nobody cares to see Jake Paul in the ring with these fighters out of their prime, whether it's MMA fighters that aren't doing MMA anymore, or boxers like Cesar Chavez or Mike Tyson who are done with the sport, who return to fight against a Jake Paul based off the big paycheck. Is the boxing space done with the idea of Jake Paul doing that? And what is Jake Paul going to have to do for his next fight? You saw Jake Paul do a little mid version of a face-off with Zurdo Ramirez, showing that he's willing to make that fight happen, right? For whatever it's worth. Does Zurdo Ramirez make that fight happen over Jairo Patai? I think the fans and the people who are in this channel wouldn't want to see something like that. But is boxing ready to see Jake Paul finally get derailed by a real fighter? Somebody in his age range, somebody who really provides that real threat. Is boxing ready to see that at this point? I think we are. I think that's the only way we'll see Jake Paul fighting in a fight that I care to watch, is him fighting against Zurdo Ramirez or fighting at least a top 10 cruiserweight at this point. No interest. Even a Yonel Dortico, seeing him get in the ring with him. At this point, if Jake Paul wants to, at this point, Jake Paul has to fight real fighters, or this whole entire gimmick of him fighting MMA fighters. And, he screamed out for Anthony Joshua. I mean, he can make that fight if he wants to. I don't think that's a fight he wants to make happen. He screamed out for Gervonta Tank Davis. That doesn't make any sense. He screamed out for Tommy Fury. I don't know who cares to see that fight. Maybe some of his fans, some of the YouTubers, some of the casual fans want to see that fight. At this point, it felt like the Jake Paul train started to lose steam. Seems like people are over it, right? Seems like people are over it. I'll be honest with you, Pop Shop. Jake Paul might knock Deontay out, bro. Jake might knock Deontay out. I ain't gonna lie to you. Jake might do it. Jake might do him bad, man. I'm telling you. I don't know. I mean, this Deontay Wilder that we seen right now is a super shell of himself. I don't know what you guys think. It is what it is. Tax Hammer says Wilder versus Paul makes all the sense in the world right now. Yeah, I think that'd be a great fight. I think that would sell. Clearly, that would sell. You're talking about fighting Anthony Joshua, beat Deontay Wilder. That's a heavyweight fight. We know that their names are right next to each other. Make it happen. A lot of money in it for Deontay. Big pay-per-view. I'd watch that. I would call that fight. I would call that fight. I'm not going to lie to you. It is what it is. I'd call that fight. You know what I mean? And don't be shocked if Jake don't knock Deontay out. Because I think Deontay's chin might be a little suspect as well. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Let's talk. Yeah, let me go ahead and put that link out for my guy, man, Edwin. Edwin, go ahead and there's the link, man. You can hit it and come up here. I don't need everybody coming up here right now. I'll let you know. I mean, if you pop up here, don't be shocked if I leave you in the back for a second. I'm not actually ready for a full panel yet. There's so many topics that I want to cover. But my guy Edwin, wouldn't mind building with Edwin. With my guy Edwin,
Yo,
mind building with Edwin. What's good? Oh, yo, I don't hear your sound. I don't hear your sound. My guy Edwin,
yo.
Take your time. Let's go. Oh, yo, I don't hear a sound. And I got a little echo going on too. Like I hear myself. Is that me? Or you? Hold on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
But I hear myself too.
Yeah, let me turn that down. Hold on. My speaker was on. I'm sorry. I didn't even turn on my thing. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for shouting me out, brother.
Dude, you're doing your thing right now, man.
Yo, you're doing your thing. You're doing your thing. I like your setup.
We doing our thing.
I like your setup.
This is some of you right here. It's a little bit of you right here. It's a little bit of you right here. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Hey, listen, I'm always like to keep up what's going on. So you had a lot to say, man, a lot of interesting stuff, and I definitely wanted to break down a lot what you were saying.
Yeah.
Starting with, this Turkey Island Sheik thing and what we're seeing going on in boxing. Here, hold on 1 second, please.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to put that up because everybody said they like the beef.
The
And
pork chop.
it's not a pork chop, it's a
steak.
beef. That's boxing beef. That's a steak.
Okay. No doubt.
Okay. So, first of all, what we're seeing is with Turkey, is competition. He's coming into the sport of boxing and he's trying to leave his mark. He's making his own belts. That's going to lead right into the conversation. Does belts matter in the sport of boxing? And I've never heard anybody.
Is the speaker on?
Huh?
I still hear my echo when I'm talking. I can hear myself.
You can?
Yeah.
I think I got everything down. Let's see here.
Mic check.
All right.
Mic check.
What about now?
Yo. Yeah, man, I hear it. Hold on a second. Let me see something. Mic check. Yeah, it's definitely you.
Okay, hold on. 1 second. Let me see if I can switch over to this. What's going on here?
Mic check.
All right, hold on.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, let me see. Right here, bam. All right, let's try it like this. How about there?
Mic check. Perfect.
Yep. Perfect. Nice.
Shout out to Greg Hackett. Perfect. Go ahead, man.
So basically, I've never seen anyone enter a sport, a major professional sport, and the objective to get to the top of your sport is to win the trophy. The objective to get into boxing is to win the belts. And then a lot of these gentlemen started this narrative that belts don't matter. Well said from gentlemen that didn't want to collect them. They didn't have no intention on getting many belts, so they didn't want you to scrutinize them. So they wanted you to believe that they didn't matter. That's just like saying, yeah, I'm cool with being Dan Marino. No rings. All that talent, all that success, no rings. Right? Then that leads to the other conversations that you were having, with some of the fights that took place. As far as Tevin Farmer and Floyd Schofield, look, man, I think he caught him cold.
Yeah.
He caught him cold. Tevin Farmer is a veteran. He slept on the young man a little bit, and he needed to get warmed up. And what I saw out of Floyd Schofield was focus, anger. It looked like he was fighting the criticism, everything in the back of his mind. And you can see it on his emotions after the end of the fight. It all came out. Everything that happened with his fathers, the story, the sickness. He was fighting all of that leading into that night. Spectacular knockout against a worthy opponent. You brought up Raymond Morataya, and you said, well, he's a boxer, but Tim Farmer here went tooth and nail with Ray Morataya, and Schofield starched him. So it doesn't mean that Schofield all of a sudden gets onto this level. Like you said, I did see good patience in the young man, and he performed well at a high stage. So let's see where that takes him. As far as Turkey Ali Sheik, I'm going to get a little bit on two sides, and please just stay with me on this one because I got both sides to give you. Turkey Al-Sheikh, on one side, he has me turned off because he keeps announcing these fights ahead of schedule. He already has William Cepeda fighting Andy Cruz on the undercard of the Naoya Inoue fight, right? In September. He has a lot of fights already scheduled, and most of these guys on these cards already have fights. That's the one side that I say that he keeps putting the cart before the horse. Then I pause for a second, and I ask myself, what have I been asking for in boxing? A schedule. A schedule. Give me entertainment. Let me know that these future fights could exist if these guys go in the ring and take care of business. You know? So when we're looking at the landscape of boxing and we don't have nothing to view, hey, what's going on? Who's fighting this? Turkey's putting up all these fights, even though these guys, I understand it. Bam Bam Rodriguez has still have not got in the ring with Kofu, and Bam Bam Rodriguez is also on the undercard of Naoya Inoue.
Yeah.
You see? Now, but at the same time, as a fan, when I read these things, I see the future. And what could hold? If Ryan Garcia would have did his part, we would be getting Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney.
Right.
If Deontay Wilder would have did his part against Zhang, we would have got him and AJ.
Yeah.
Right? But so there was a part of me that was a little confused by what Turkey was doing. And what you're seeing him do is go to war with boxing. He's trying to erase our belts, make his own, right? Because this is competition. If he feels that he can bring the fights, and these guys that had their hands in boxing for all these years couldn't put it together, well, here comes a guy that walks in and says, I also like this sport right here, and I see real potential. And what you guys are lacking is a schedule. Because Sunday Night Football, every time I tune in, it's going to play, right?
Right.
Keep us entertained throughout the year.
Yeah, win or loss, right? You're going to see your team play who they need to play next week, not based off them winning exclusively, but based off the schedule and off the structure of the sport. I also think that he's attacking I think Turkey Al-Sheikh's approach to boxing appeals to the hardcore boxing fan, and he's working his magic on attracting the casual fan, right? This is the Fatal Fury, the spectacle in Times Square, the rumors of him doing something in Alcatraz, the trailers, the video game Undisputed. Like, he's trying to tap in, and he's trying to bring the casual fan into the hardcore fans lane, right? But he understands that there may be a little bit of gimmick behind it, the marketing, the production, hence the involvement of Nick Khan from the WWE, who's one of the best sport entertainment companies out there as far as marketing and do with wrestling. Whether obviously it's not real, but the entertainment, the production value, and the cult following that they have, building a following like that, but around real fights, the best fighting the best, and the idea of that, and getting the casual fan used to seeing that and demanding that, and ultimately applying pressure to some of these fans' favorite fighters. And why aren't you fighting the best, right? Like, we understand what you're doing against, this plus 1,600 fighter you're fighting against, and that looks great visually, but we want to see you tested. So he's pushing back at the structure of the sport, the belts that he feels like, and I think most hardcore boxing fans feel has been compromised through the politics of the sanctioning bodies. When you watch how the WBC handled Errol Spence, pushing him up to number 1 on the rankings of the 154, he never even had a fight at 154, right? And off the back end of a dominating loss at 147 to Terrence Crawford, or what they're doing with Manny Pacquiao now. We just saw happen with George Kambosos, or even Jake Paul, even being able to say that he's ranked in some structure to challenge Azurdo Ramirez for a WBA title. The sanctioning bodies have more than a little bit devalued and discredited their titles by the way they treat the titles. Look how they did Dmitry Bivol, right? And the pressure they put on him. So Turkey attacks that, knowing that the space, like the gentleman said earlier, what do titles even matter anymore, right? You hear boxers like Tank say that. Even Shakur in recent times in the past couple of months said, to be honest with you, I don't even care about titles anymore. He's even said it, right? Because there's no real
structure
I think, follow behind.
Yeah, I think that comes from the frustration of the fighters that the belts seem to do whatever the hell they want to, and they're paying their sanctioning fees, and they're not getting these fights. And there's a lot of frustration in politics and boxing. Yes, there is. As far as Turkey, it took me a long time to really see who he was and what kind of power he truly has. For instance, when it comes to gambling, or you got two promotional companies coming head to head, Golden Boy and I don't know, pick one, PBC, right? Going against each other, you can think that somebody's got a judge or a referee or the fix was in or something. Not until I saw Turkey. I never met one man control everything. Meaning, if he was to put the fix in, wouldn't that be cheating himself? He's gambling against no one. He's not betting against any other man. It's only him.
Right.
It means the best thing he can do is let nature take its course. A lot of people said that, how the hell you have Hamza Sharif scheduled to fight Canelo? He hasn't even fought Edgar Berlanga. But I get what he's doing. I get what he's doing. Listen, everybody's like, oh, Turkey put the fix in. I'm like, how's that possible? He's going to put the fix in for that the bookies can cash in? Because it's not like he's betting against anyone. He's not doing it for the money. You can't bribe him. What are you going to pay Turkey to throw a fight? Why would he do that if he controls both sides? And when I saw his true power.
Yeah, he's not doing that. I mean, it doesn't benefit him. It doesn't coincide with nothing that he values.
But that's when I understood. I was like, wow, he's making boxing pure again. There's nothing to cheat. He's taking the corruption right out. He's like, listen, I'm putting you both in there. That's why you guys had a couple dull fights and shit, because it was time to really fight.
Yeah.
He's really, look, the man doesn't have to cut his own foot off. He controls everything. He doesn't have to, he can publicly come out, and this is what he does to mess with the fans. Hey, this is my guy right here. This is my guy, right? They're all his guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so and then as far as Jake Paul goes, right? It's hard sometimes, and I also had to view Jake Paul in a different light myself. I noticed like all the antics he was doing, but when I stepped back and I saw Jake Paul for what he was doing, I said to myself, hold up. This man is literally doing his amateur career on live TV at a pro level, right?
He's headlining pay-per-view cards with amateur fights.
He has no amateur background, came straight from off Nickelodeon, wherever he came from the YouTube streets, right? Hopped right into boxing, and we expected what? Him to compete with the real guys in the rankings?
Right.
Is that what we would? With no amateur background. So this man was so smart that he tricked the world into thinking he was actually fighting, and what he was doing was getting better. He was having an amateur career right in front of your eyes. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then when people were saying about his ranking, okay, now this is when shit gets real. If you want to put him in the WBA ranking, Mr. WBA, right? He needs to fight guys in the ranking. I don't care how low, even if they're down 40, 30, I don't care. But they got to be in the ranking. You know, and allow Jake Paul, if you really are betting on your guy, allow him to get a little bit better with more competition. Don't just throw in there with Zorro, thinking that, oh, because he went toe-to-toe with freaking the legend's son here, you know, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., right? Don't think that he's ready for Zorro because Zorro looked bad. Zorro would snap out of that act, get in shape, and spank him.
Facts. Even Yonel Dortico, the guy who fought Zorro, would give him a lot of issues. But I agree with you as far as his amateur career being on the stage, right?
Right.
And how it turns out. But I do think, you know, first of all, salute to Jake Paul because he brings a lot of light to the sport. He brings a whole fan base with him every time he puts an event together that gets to see he does good at building up the cards underneath him, right? And giving those guys plenty of opportunities. These guys get eyes on them that they probably would never get eyes to see them at this stage in their careers. But at the same time, when you're calling out a Canelo Alvarez and when you're calling out an Anthony Joshua and you're calling out these fights,
that's cap.
When you're doing that, well, we know it's cap, but there's also a humble energy, right, that is missing from Jake Paul, where it's like, all right, well, who's going to be his Huckleberry? Who's going to be the fighter who steps up top 10? Who's like, all right, bro, let's have at it. Because I think that would help develop Jake Paul. He'd lose, in my opinion, 100%, but we'd see his real commitment to the sport when he made a return from taking a real loss. Not like what he did against Tommy Fury. You know what I mean? In a real fight with somebody in his age bracket. You know what I mean? Somebody inside of 30. You know what I'm saying? Or a little above 30 who can really run it with him. Not somebody 40 years old, 60 years old, a Mike Tyson or an MMA fighter who has no boxing background or anything like that. And I can appreciate and respect the fact that, he's having his amateur career in front of us. But at the same time, at some point, which I think the point is now, especially now that the WBA's put him in the rankings, yeah, it's time. It's time to if you want to be looked at that way, we're going to expect you as a boxing community. We're going to expect you to show us in the ring against the right kind of competition. But shout out to what Jake Paul does for women boxing, what he does for the fighters on his undercard. That is amazing, and that's a great thing for boxing. And in the spirit of that, he's great for boxing.
As far as Deontay Wilder, I heard you talking about Deontay Wilder, and let me tell you something. I don't know why everybody's so hard on him, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I was impressed with Deontay Wilder's performance. Now, the level of his competition, that guy, listen, Deontay Wilder had him at bay with that jab. He couldn't get around it. But I like Deontay Wilder's activity. He stayed active every single round. He got rounds in. And he got his confidence up a little bit. You started seeing him even doing like a check hook. He threw an uppercut. I was like, Deontay Wilder threw an uppercut. I was like, oh, shit. Right? He threw a little body shot. I was like, okay, because we were so used that Deontay fell in love with his power that all you saw was him gripping the glove and just a right hand cocked back like this, and it went rounds where he didn't even throw a punch. Like it was like 5-6 punches or something in a round. He just pouring out the jab. But this time he started looking better, and it was good for a fighter. And I saw some improvements. He can do better. He got wild. He started clubbing the dude. I saw it. He needs work. Yes, he needs work.
But okay. In the spirit of what you just said, needs work at 40 years old, right? At 40 years old, is there time to work on stuff? Deontay Wilder's in the conversation to fight Anthony Joshua, right? That's where he's at. Deontay, is he in a rebuilding stage? Is he ready to fight 3 to 5 tune-ups to get his career where it needs to be at 40 years old? That's about 2 years worth of boxing.
Okay.
If he stays busy.
Okay. For instance, right? George Foreman won the heavyweight title at 45 years old because, let's just be honest, in the heavyweight division, you need a little bit of skills and a monster shot. Any of those guys catch you flush on the chin, you're going down. So it's not like in the heavyweight division, you're dealing with a lot of movement. So for as heavyweights, right, if we were thinking about it like that, Wilder doesn't have a lot of miles on him. He started boxing at 20-something years old. No amateur career. He did all of this on the fly with a right hand. He had 10 successful title defenses over a reign of 5 years. Now, you say, I think what you're referring to is, can you teach an old dog new tricks?
Yes.
Could you get him better, right? Right now, no, he can't be the top 10 right now. But just like George Foreman, he took 10 fights moving up forward.
But George Foreman?
Yeah, a different mindset with different fighters, I understand. I'm just the probability. There's just the probability. Even if you was to give Deontay Wilder 2 years, 2 fights a year, right? That's 4 fights. And you add 2 years to his 39, 41. Let's see what he can do. There's a lot of guys, heavyweights that are up there in age. Even, what's his name? Arthur that fought Dimitri. Wasn't he going on 39, 40?
Yeah, but we're talking about a pedigree. Listen, these guys have something to fall back on, right? Artur Beterbiev has an amateur career. He's a champ. He was this is a high look. His age, in certain conversations, the age isn't that much of a factor, right? Like Bernard Hopkins, for example, and how far he went in his career, as far as he calling himself the alien. Yeah, he had a foundation that Deontay Wilder has none. Same thing with George Foreman. Deontay doesn't share anything common with these guys except for their age. If he's going to be a factor in the heavyweight division, it's going to be brute force, no respect, throwing that right hand with accuracy and going for it. Mm-hmm. This new version of Deontay, to where he's boxing, and I'm right there with you as far as admiring what we saw from him this past weekend, right? As far as seeing things from him that we don't never see from him, and celebrating him in that. Like, oh man, look at him throwing the uppercut, throwing the body shot. Look at him staying on that jab. Look at him, getting the rounds in. That's cute and that's adorable. And I celebrated him for that earlier.
Right.
I said, man, first of all, shout out to him. I seen him working on things. You saw what he was working on in that fight.
Right.
But this is not the time. I'll never forget him trying to do that with Joseph Parker. And that was one of my first videos that I put out there when I said, no, bro, this is not the time to do it. You don't do this now. You don't get to the biggest stage in front of Turkey Al-Sheikh, in front of your biggest bag, knowing that on the back end of a victory, Anthony Joshua is waiting for you, right? All these big fights are waiting for you, and all of a sudden change your stripes. You can't change your stripes. You are who you are. Years ago, Mark Breland tried to get you there. Other people tried to get you there. You were doing your own thing. You told the press you don't need to learn how to box. These fighters have to be great for 12 rounds. You only have to be great for 1 minute. You know what I'm saying? When you drop that right hand, you shot at everybody who criticized your boxing pedigree and your IQ.
Right.
At this point in your career, yes, it's too late because it's the heavyweight division. And the longer you stand in there against these fighters like a Philip Ergovich, who comes in, with that amateur background, a Daniel Dubois who knows how to set up that right hand, who has a great jab. And yes, even in Anthony Joshua, who some people want to say they want to take shots at and say he's a shell of himself, his pedigree will knock this Deontay Wilder out very early. If he truly is being true to what he said, which is he's on the road and on the journey of becoming a heavyweight champion again, then it's going to be the Deontay Wilder that everybody thought could become a champion that needs to resurface. This is a new Deontay Wilder. I personally believe it's too late for him. But look, test the waters. Who am I to say anything? He'll knock me out. You know what I mean? So I don't want to talk too crazy. Yeah. But in my personal opinion, he's done.
He's done. My thing was this, right? I was being a little open-minded and a little wishful thinking, and my fingers crossed, right? Just maybe, if Usyk beats Daniel Dubois and he calls it quits, he says, I'm done. I did everything I needed to do in boxing. I'm retiring, right? So, he vacates the belts. Deontay Wilder, with his name, he can sneak in there and there's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8 guys fighting for world titles. And I think
who does he fight? Who does he beat? He may get in there off his name, but he's going to probably get embarrassed.
You mean to tell me you've never seen the WBC do some crazy shit and put Deontay Wilder to fight for WBC world title?
No, I think he will. I agree with you.
Number 30th guy. They'll take the number 30. Well, we won't even know this guy's name. How many times have we saw that in boxing?
I agree with you that his brand, his name, Deontay Wilder, can get him in a title fight. I think he can get into a title fight.
Oh.
But I think any of those guys up there will embarrass him.
Yeah, but you're thinking the guys up there. Think a little lower. Just like
right now, let's look at the landscape, right? If right now Alexander Usyk beats Daniel Dubois, and they vacate all these titles, right?
Vacate all the titles.
All the titles, right? Because now he'll be undisputed.
Okay.
Who's next in line for the IBF? I believe it's Derek Chisora, right? Derek Chisora will knock Deontay out. Who's in line for the WBC? Ajit Cabello right now holds an interim title. He will destroy Deontay Wilder. Who would be actually it's either Derek Chisora or it's going to be Philip Ergovich potentially, right?
And Michael Hunt is the WBA and Moses is the
Otuma
WBO.
is the WBO.
Yeah,
those guys will annihilate that man.
But I said,
even Joe Torres.
None of those guys. He's not fighting any of those guys. All right, I'm gonna tell you he's going to who Deontay Wilder is gonna fight.
Even Terramana knock him out.
He's gonna fight Gerald Anderson for the WBC World Championship.
No, it's gonna be Ajit Cabello. He's the interim title. Hold on.
No, I'm saying we would stay with me now.
Okay.
Usyk vacated.
Mm-hmm.
Usyk vacated.
Edwin Del Santo. I mean, not Edwin. Oh my God. Ajit Cabello would become the WBC champion. He's an interim WBC title holder right now.
I know, but you know what? All of a sudden, the WBC is gonna say, "Well, you know what?
What are they gonna do?"
Okay. Who did Saul Canelo Alvarez fight for that WBC 168-pound vacant title when they stripped David?
Who was it?
They brought that guy up. They brought him up. He wasn't even in the weight division.
But was there an interim title holder at that time? I don't think there was an interim champion at that time.
Okay, so that even makes it worse.
But
because
an interim champion. He's not.
Okay. By the letter of law in boxing, if you are a world champion, you cannot compete for a vacant world title. That's first of all.
No, but he would be elevated.
No. Okay. I'm saying he was not at the time, right? Saul Canelo Alvarez literally fought for the vacant WBC world title once he was stripped of it. And Saul was already a world champion. You cannot compete for a vacant title. If you're a champion, you got to let two other people fight for it. Then you fight him. You see, you got to give the other guys the right to compete for a champion because you're already a champion. You're not obligated to that organization. And somehow, some way, I'm telling you.
No, he fought Calum.
No. Oh, hold up. Okay, we gotta have to look this up.
He fought Calum Smith.
Okay.
For that vacant title.
All right. Where did at the time? Think the time frame. At the time frame, I don't think he was in the division. If I can remember correctly, I remember way back then.
No, he was 168.
Hold up.
He had fought John Ryder right before. Yeah, he was at one. He campaigned at 168 the whole time. He didn't come up.
Damn, I'm still at 150. Whatever.
Listen, at the end of the day, right? The games can be played for Deontay Wilder one way or another, right? The sanctioning bodies are not above playing the games.
Billy Joe Sanders, right?
What about Billy Joe?
Wait. No, okay, Callum Smith.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, right? Can the sanctioning bodies play the games that they want to play? Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the things that making them lose their credibility. And that's why Turkey's doing what he's doing. And that's why people are saying, what do titles matter? But the reality is what's in the dark is going to come to light. And what's in the dark, which I don't even think is in the dark anymore, is that Deontay Wilder is he doesn't represent.
Not yet. No. I'm not sure not he
yet.
Can.
At 40 years old.
But wait a minute. I saw Dubois.
There's no, not yet. He's done.
I saw Dubois late, like, freaking invigorate
yeah, but
his
Daniel
career.
Dubois was a boxer. He had a pedigree about him. He had a mental thing going on. He had a psychological thing. Yeah, and he's young.
Young.
Deontay Wilder compares to nobody in the heavyweight division. He's completely shot, man. He's completely shot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's free. He's free to prove me wrong and do something great. But I have nothing that I can hold on to for me to sit here and be optimistic about anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think he beats any of the top guys. Like I said, I was shooting real low in a vacant belt situation. You know what I'm
And the
saying?
heavyweight division is brewing right now. Like there's so much talent coming up in that division right now. Turkey's doing such a great job at developing that division. I mean, he's not part of the like I said, Joe Torres will make. Don't even bring up Moses, because Moses will. Don't even bring up Moses. I'm saying Joe Torres, somebody who's still on the prospect level as a heavyweight, will demolish him. We just watched Terramana, this Terramana guy. I can't remember what his name is. He was all singing, happy, you know what I mean? Yeah. He would demolish Deontay, bro. Shout out to Deontay Wilder, man. I want to see him get his respect, which I think he already has. He has a statue of himself in Alabama. He's he's defended his title 10 times.
He did a lot.
Great highlight reel. He's done a lot of great things. We can celebrate him for what he's done, but the future of him in the heavyweight division, we'll see. I don't think it's there. Yeah. Let me ask you. Let's move it on along a little bit, and let's get into I want to stay at 135 a little bit, right? And we're talking about the Floyd Schofield situation and what he's done in the conversation that he's in. Let me ask you, right now, Floyd Schofield in comparison to his peers, as far as Abdullah Mason's concerned, when you're talking about the lightweight division, Shakur Stevenson, Raymond Moratala, William Zepeda, Keyshawn, not anymore, Frank Martin, not anymore, Teofimo up at 140. But when you're talking about the landscape of all the fights that he can be involved in, do you think he's in a good spot in the sense of, is he ready for that type of competition? Did this fight was it a blessing, this performance against Tevin Farmer? Going into the fight against Tevin Farmer, did you get the questions answered that you wanted to get answered about Floyd Schofield?
No. And as far as business standpoint, he hasn't really proved that he can be trusted, that he wouldn't pull a stunt or anything. Those were some outlandish statements, and the world knows that, and we all remember those videos.
Go ahead, because that's another thing too I wanted to address is, can we separate the father from
business
the son?
thing? We're promoters, we're all this and that. We're sitting across the table from you. Yeah, you might have starched this dude. Great performance, my man. But that doesn't convince us that we can schedule a whole event around you. You're gonna now, sometimes you can do things to have not the fighters frown on you, but the business side frown on you. Okay, you walked away
but the business
from
side,
$1 million.
The business side is squared away from him, because now he has a $5 million 5-year deal. He's no longer trying to attract any interest from other investors or anything like that. Oscar seems to be sold on it. I think
that's his team. That's his team. I'm talking about there's two parts in boxing. There's another promotional company there that got to bank on the fact that you show up. They got to do business with you. It's not a one-way street where that, I know that he's got that deal and it looks like things are going up for him. Oh, yeah, I can see that. But can I honestly sit here and say that Shakur Stevenson's going to say, yeah, sign me right up? I believe in doing another fight with you and wasting my time and me getting all the criticism for fighting Josh Padley because you did that to me. I didn't have to fight Josh Padley. I had you. You did a lot to my career too. And I'm not sure Shakur Stevenson is going to sign up for this show again. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But that's what I'm saying. Respectfully so, the other side's going to look at him and business-wise and say, you know what, I can bank on this kid. Let's sign him up. Just because he beat one guy, but, his side of the street, it seems to be clear. He got some good fans back. He's in a pretty good graces right now. We just lost the world championship with Keyshawn Davis for the American side. And then we just got two nice knockouts, Brian Norman Jr. and Floyd Schofield. So, as far as competition and doing business with the other side and giving that guy the phone call and saying, yeah, you know what? We could schedule an entire event over this guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think he's still high risk, low reward. The money behind him is limited to what Oscar De La Hoya is willing to put up to put these fights together for him. I think Oscar will send him into the fire, though, as far as fighting any of the champions. He'll do it. My question is, though, is Floyd Schofield outside of the business? Is he proven to you at this point, based off the performance with Tevin Farmer? Is he proven? Did that performance do that for you? Or can we dismiss that performance to Tevin Farmer not approaching this fight the right way? And anybody in being knocked out, he didn't get outclassed. He got caught with a right hand very early in the fight. Did that show you something from Floyd? I mean, how much weight can we put behind this victory outside of his value as far as a casual space, seeing him knock somebody out like Tevin Farmer?
Right. The only thing I can take from that performance was power. I know that Floyd Schofield can crack because that's all I saw. I didn't see any skill. Yeah, I can give him check marks for being poised, a little calculated, seeing the opening, being aggressive. Yeah, I can give him small points for all of that. But all I saw in this fight was power. So, okay, the kid's got power. Can you go the distance? Is your gas tank going to hold up? Are you still looking like Sean Porter fighting? You know what I mean? There's a lot of questions that, as far as the round, there's going to be two different halves of the fight. Let's see what he does against a guy that's in there that can take his punch, that can deliver and move. So that's all I can take from this fight.
Shakur Stevenson, commented at the, on the Twitter space about the fight, and he pretty much criticized Tevin, right? He said, "Come on, Tevin, man, you better than this, right? You know already, how you should approach this fight. It was a bad approach." And I know a lot of people looked at it like it was hate, and maybe it was a little bit, but was there some fact behind it as well? Did Shakur have a point to a certain degree, just to say that, was Shakur, did it hold weight what he said? You know what I mean? I know, like I said, a lot of. Right? It did, right?
Yes. No, because Tevin Farmer is responsible for falling asleep behind the wheel. Tevin Farmer, if he wasn't warmed up, he should have got pad work or did something,
So
and
does that
got right
take
into
away?
that. Huh?
So does that take away in some way? Does that take away from Floyd Schofield's victory?
Nope. Just like it was Tevin Farmer's fault, what he did, it was also Floyd Schofield's job to do what he did.
100%.
Okay? He gets 100% credit. And Tevin, brother, listen, we know you're better than that. Shakur hit it right on the nail. Boop! Right there. The world knows you're better than that. We've seen you go back-to-back with Cepeda. We know the warrior that you are, the gladiator you are. We know the boxing mind. Bro, you got caught cold, and that's due to you.
100%.
That's due to you. You allowed that kid to come in and bum rush you.
But even the way you're saying it now, right? Even the way you're saying it now, from the outside looking in, it seems one might argue, right, that it's more Tevin Farmer's fault on how he approached the fight than Floyd's. I don't know. Me personally, I'm split 50-50. I give Schofield his credit, 100%. He did what he did, but how much can I gauge off of what he'll do with a Shakur or Javante or rematch with Raymond, or fight with Raymond Mortalo, or fight with William Zepeda, or fight with any of the top level 135-pound fighters off that fight, knowing that, like Shakur said, you're not going to catch me like that.
That's the problem. That's the problem right there. Now, if you want a measuring stick on what side or who's going to get more credit here, can it be that Tevin Farmer fell asleep behind the wheel or this? Let me tell you something. There's a lot of situations where a guy would have cracked Tevin Farmer with that same shot. Probably wouldn't have knocked him out. Okay? There's no guarantee that Tevin Farmer could have been fighting anybody else, Raymond Mortalo, anybody else, and they would have had to hit him in the same sequence, but he still would have been standing there. Okay? So the way I give it to more Floyd is when he hit him, he took him out. He took him out, meaning I'm not giving you a second chance. He got up, but he was hurt, and he put him right. He went right to him. There was no letting up. So, job well done. Job well done.
I agree.
For captivating on the moment.
His next fight will speak we'll speak to any questions we might have. But I do think there's still questions. Without a doubt, there's still questions there. I think all the questions that were there before are there now. I'm happy for him though, because this victory was a big victory for him and something he needed. And it also spoke to the psychology of the pressure that his father kind of put on him by talking the way he was talking. You saw the emotional release from Floyd Schofield in the ring, right? Where he tried to, he sold us a good, I don't care, right? And that's people feel the way they feel and people think the way they think. That's not my problem. But you saw with the emotional reaction to the victory that it was a release, and how much of an effect it would have been if he would have lost that fight. It could have maybe broke him psychologically, right? If Tevin would have beat Schofield, it looked like he was on the edge of no return. Like, this is going to be it for me, or I might completely tap out of this game, right? So now with that psychology of the father-son relationship, the dynamic of that relationship in boxing, we're watching Brian Norman now. We're going to segue into Brian Norman, Devin Haney, as a matter of fact. But that father-son relationship and that dynamic, seeing Brian Norman Jr. now getting announced in a fight against Devin Haney, how do you feel about that fight, first of all?
Well, I want to get to that right now, but I wanted to say something about Schofield's father real quick. And the thing with Schofield's father, I was on the Boxing Voice and I was talking to him and shit, right? So he comes up to the camera and I asked him, I told him, hey, I want to speak to your son, right? And a lot of guys took that and they ran with it and they said, yo, when you're raw, bro, you disrespectful and everything. And I had a different view on that. And I just wanted to share real quick, right? The way I viewed that was, here's another situation where the father thinks he's just as valuable as the son. No, my man, you're his dad, but he's the athlete. He's the fighter. I wanted to interview a fighter. Now, I understand that you guys are a team and you do the promotion for him. Then that's when I'll talk to you and we can kick it on that. But there's another time where, like, the girlfriend or the dad or the brother or a family member or a friend thinks they're just as famous or should be treated as equal as the athlete. And the athlete seems to sometime in some of these cases allow that to happen. They've never achieved anything. They've never done Why do I want to talk to you right now? I want to talk to the real deal. I respect what you're doing, and I didn't mean it in any disrespect, but I only had a small window. And I was like, yo, scoot out the way. Bring your son over here. Let's talk. You see? So, and then as far as the Brian Norman Jr. fight with Devin Haney, yo, I give Devin Haney a lot of credit for taking a dangerous fight like that. But I'm going out on an edge here. You guys are gonna probably flip on me right now.
Salute to the Queen Rachel Donaire in the building. Peace, sis.
Hey,
for sure.
You guys are gonna really come at me on this one, right? Something tells me I think Devin Haney can pull it off with Brian Norman Jr.
Oh, something. Oh, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. I think
something tells me he can pull it off with him. I don't think Brian Norman Jr. is gonna hit him like he hit Jin.
He can maybe, but Devin's definitely not Jin. He's definitely not Derek Cuevas, and he's definitely not Gervais Santillan. He's a different kind of fighter. But I also want to say this. Shout out to Nick J in the building. One half of the Queens of Boxing in the building said this right here. What do we think about that statement?
Schofield
is ready for Mason. Okay.
No. It's as ready as Mason. In other words, Mason's getting ready to fight for a WBO title. See, the thing about Abdullah Mason to me is we watching him develop. He's been active. He fought 7 times last calendar year, and he's on his 4th fight this year. We watch him get better. We've seen him face adversity, but we've seen him come back, and we've seen him put himself in championship contention. Did we see Floyd Schofield do that?
Yes and no. So Floyd Schofield had a fight with Shakur for a title and backed out. You see, he had his opportunity, and that's what I talk about. And then you back out. You're not good money. You see, and then as far as Abdullah Mason being right place, right time, you saved the night, kid. We feel like we might owe you a favor. You needed to step up when you were a co-main event and take the night and shine. Thank you for doing that while our superstar was having a meltdown. Okay? And you stepped up for the organization and didn't leave the fight. You know, you performed. And for that, they're going to reward him. While the other guy,
don't forget though, he was already ranked high in the WWE. He was getting ready to fight for a title regardless.
Right.
He could have fought Edwin De Los Santos that night for that vacant title. He could have became a champion if he'd have fought Edwin that night. Schofield, I don't know. I just feel like
he had an opportunity and blew it.
Who?
You see where the difference? Schofield.
Yes.
I don't think he blew it.
You don't think he
blew it? No.
Wait, by the way, Pop Shop in the building. My bad, bro. We've been
What's
sitting here
up?
talking, ignoring Pop Shop, bro. What's good with you, family? My bad, bro.
Well, you claim to be sick. You go to you land in America. You go to no doctors. You have no paperwork. And then the paperwork that was in Saudi from the nurses and doctors out there, they have what they ran on you, the test. You came back negative, right? And, you know, this theory that Turkey would ever do this to him, why would he do that if he put together the fight? If Turkey never wanted this fight, he would have never had you there.
We know that's not the case. We don't know all the way if Schofield
he fucked it up,
backed out the fight all the way. I think there's a lot of people pointing in that direction, a lot of evidence kind of like, but yeah,
24 hours out
this
from
was
the
not
fight?
poisoning. Nobody was trying to stop this fight from happening. No, bro. Best case scenario, you just got sick off some food. Maybe somehow that happened, but even though the test said, but there's no conspiracy here to stop a fight like that from happening. That's just ridiculous. Well, hold on, Edwin, before you go on, I want to bring Pop shopping because I want to give him a chance to kind of build for a second. Pop, go ahead, man. You definitely had some things you were about to build on.
Well, speaking on Schofield, we can't hold what happened before on him now. You know, I mean, he obviously is ready. He went out there, he showed himself. You know, we had a lot of doubters to say that he probably, you know, it would be a tough fight for him when he goes out there and fight Tevin Farmer. Checked him out on the interview with Mill City Boxing. Shout out to Mill City. You know, and they said a whole lot. I mean, regardless of what we think, it's about the boxer. You just said it, Edwin, is that it's about the boxer. If the boxer feels ready, it's time for them to go out there. Don't hold them back. I'm not in the business of protecting no boxer. I mean, he already said that, look, I've already sparred with Abdullah Mason. He said it'd be a good fight, but I already know how that's going to turn out. He said, y'all will see. If y'all put us in the ring, y'all will see. He's speaking, I'll knock out Shakur. He's saying a lot. Only thing we got to do is, hey, as fans, we have a part in putting it together. We got to say something, you know, because the fans have a part in it. So if we want these fights to come, let's say something. Abdullah Mason is going to be, he's already in a position, you know, to start getting some big fights. Shakur still like he's going to stay there at 135. He's going to get caught up in the mix. He's going to have to fight one of these young lions. So he's going to have to either shit or get off the pot. You know what I'm saying? So these guys is ready. I think Abdullah Mason is ready for him. We ain't got to worry about what happened before Tevin Farmer. We talking about what's going on after that. And I think that the young lion is ready to show and perform. Let's let it happen.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you on that 100%. But like, you know, just being, you know, on an analyst level, just looking at Floyd Schofield's development, even, I mean, shout out to Nick J, who said that he was active before the Shakur. I don't think I think he started fading back a little bit. You know, I mean, Oscar was trying to figure out what to do with him. The last two fights he had, Mysterio Suero, where even with the Ricardo Lopez fight, which was probably the fight where everybody just started to pay real close attention to him as far as, you know, on a casual level, he stopped him. But when he fought against Suero, they threw him in there with a savage. This dude was like a cheating savage, and we saw him get cut under his eye. We saw him get cut above his eye. We saw him jumping in. We saw him not listening to his corner. He had like a little bit of a rogue energy about him for a little bit of time, where it looked like he had a lot of pressure on his back to knock everybody out. And in 2024, he only fought twice, right? And then now with the Shakur Stevenson situation, Tevin Farmer was his only fight that he had in 2025. So I don't know, man. There was without a doubt a lot of questions on Schofield Jr. as far as his development as he got up in competition. And I mean, like I said, we're going to segue into the Brian Norman Jr. Devin Haney conversation, where Brian Norman kind of went through the same thing and had a moment as well with Giovanni Santillan. But before that fight, kind of was like flatlining a little bit. You know what I mean? Just all of a sudden, when the competition went up and he started going up into 10-round fights, all of a sudden we saw 8 to 10-round fights. We started seeing him become very pedestrian, having a hard time dealing with the boxers, the people who are at that upper level who are competing for the same thing he was competing for. All of a sudden, he was on his last leg with Top Rank. But then the Giovanni Santillan fight happened, and he looks like he had a burst of energy. But really, if we want to be real about it, and when I watch it, what I see is that he had a lot of flat-footed, come-forward Mexican-style fighters come in front of him, and he was able to shine. But right before that, when he was fighting boxers like Quentin Randall, he was looking regular. So jumping in a ring with the Devin Haney is going to be an opportunity for him to kind of answer those questions, because people who follow him closely will remember how pedestrian he looked in front of those fighters. And if we want to be honest about who Derek Cuevas is and who Jin Sasaki is, somebody who stood in front of him and just got punched on until you went to sleep, and definitely who Giovanni Santillan was, which was somebody who's going to stand there toe-to-toe with him in that mid-range and allow him to let his hands go and do what he did. He's not tried true yet, and this Devin Haney fight provides him an opportunity to show improve in that area. I'm pretty sure that's what Bill sees as well. And of course, you know, Devin Haney has an opportunity to check the boxes as well, as we don't know how that Ryan Garcia fight has truly affected him and who he is in real time when he gets in the ring with a real dangerous fighter like Brian Norman. You know what I mean?
There you go. I mean, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I mean, from what I hear is that we got a lot of question marks around all of these fighters, and there's only one way to answer those questions.
Yeah, in the ring.
There it is.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying the second coming. I'm just not into holding fighters back. Once I feel you. If he and his team think he's ready, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Nick J, 100. I think one way or the other, it makes no difference at this point. He's done what he's needed to do to get in these conversations. It's up to him to capitalize on the opportunities in front of him. And the same thing with Bill Haney. I'm assuming with Devin Haney and Brian Norman. People who were trying to say Bill and Devin who didn't really want the fight. It really don't matter at this point, right? They got the fight.
Right.
So they're gonna have to show and prove. What's up, Rod Scott? What's good with you, family? Yo, Rod Scott, is that you doing a push-up?
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Damn, bro, I'm trying to get like you, bro. How you doing, man? How you living, man?
Oh, I'm just chilling, man. I'm listening, man. Hey, listen, man. We don't want to see no more 35, 36-year-olds getting in there with super fights. That's not a super fight. That's two guys past their prime. We don't want to see that with Haney and Norman. He ready.
Right.
He ready. Let's do it while they in their prime. Forget all of that. You know what I'm saying? What if we would have got Trinidad and Fernando Vargas in their 30s? You know what I'm saying? These dudes, they ready. We about to see a big pay-per-view with two dudes in their 30s. You know what I'm saying?
You're talking about Terrence and Canelo. Right.
Yeah, man. So let's do it. Forget all of that. Oh, he might not be ready. And we got to see these questions. And forget all of that. He ready. And if Haney outbox him, Haney outbox him. Haney been in there with better competition. It's more likely that he might outbox him. If he gets clipped, he gets clipped. Maybe it's because of the way, fighting that cheating scumbag with the Osterin, mentally ruined him. Who knows? But them dudes is ready. I want to see it.
Oh yeah. The questions are going to get answered, and I think the significance of the fight is clear as day. That's what makes the fight exciting, is that both these guys have questions to answer, and they're arguably in their primes, right? This is the perfect time for them to fight, and that's something that Turkey also brings to the table is fights. When we look at a Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight that's never happened, and people talk about making this fight happen now, it's like that fight was supposed to happen years ago. We're not really interested in that fight happening now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We understand that when that fight was supposed to happen, it didn't happen. Same thing with even like Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. We know, if we've been watching boxing, we know we missed out on that fight. We missed out on what that fight could have been 3 to 4 to 5 years earlier. We know, people could say they fought, but yeah, come on. As boxing fans who watched how crazy that negotiation was, how many times that fight fell off, we know we didn't catch that fight. We didn't catch that fight.
Look at Manny Pacquiao. He negotiated his way back to a fight. At what age is he? 40 what? You guys are talking about fighters in their 30s.
Yeah, he's like 44, I think, or 46.
He might be, yeah. So like he 5-year layoff and mandatory title fight. Yeah, that's the WBC for you. WBC, and we were talking about you don't see things.
Get the respect.
Yo, listen. I mean, I can go with the side that, okay, I agree. Manny Pacquiao gave a lot to boxing. He made the WBC a shitload of money, okay? And he gave us enough blood. At a certain point, certain fighters, if you have that kind of legacy, you should be awarded something because, damn it, I gave you at the pinnacle of my career. And now that I'm down, I need a little bag or something. I call y'all, you know what I'm saying? Show me some love. So, okay. At a certain point, I could see something like that, okay? Because he's an established legend, So, how much blood do they need to give us before we allow them to get one, So,
I mean, it is. I can vibe with that as well. I saw. That's how I felt about it when it got announced. If anything, I was upset with the WBC, but definitely not with Manny. Definitely not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, I mean, I can't be, Manny has earned the right to be able to do something like that, but still, this doesn't help the argument for these sanctioning bodies. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't help them out when they're moving this way. I got a question though. So going into this fight, just on the panel, who you guys leaning towards? Just off the surface level of what you're expecting of the pedigree of these fighters, what are you expecting?
To be honest with you, I'm expecting Manny Pacquiao to look.
No. I'm talking about Devin and Brian.
Oh, Devin and Brian? Devin and shit. Okay, okay. I respect Brian Norman Jr.'s power, but Devin Haney is a good mover, a good counterpuncher, and he's a bit of a sniper. Now, there are two things that are bothering me. Does Devin Haney got enough pop to keep Brian Norman off of him? And what he was going to look like against Brian Norman Jr.'s power. Now, once I see that, but there's one thing about a fighter that sometimes he surprises me, like a Dubois. You think he's finished, and all of a sudden, he reinvigorates his career. Devin's down right now, but he definitely has the skills to come back. And if he can be that fighter, see, there's no measuring stick for that. A man's will. How far are you willing to go? How deep are you willing, to run that extra mile? And I'm not sure where Devin and his relationships, it's all over social media. I don't even want to talk about that. But, sometimes these families got to get behind these fighters to get the best version of them. But I'm not giving up on Devin. I think he's a remarkable talent. And, and just like Brian Norman Jr., I became a fan. But
so are you leaning towards Devin? It sounds like you're leaning towards
Devin. I'm going to go with the skill over the power in this one.
No doubt. Ross Scott, where you at with it?
I'm leaning towards Devin too, based on just the level of competition that he's faced and being under the big lights, also facing pressure and also facing doubt. I think he could pull it off. It's one of them things where if he could take Norman to the later rounds, do Norman still got the power? It's like, he's not going to fight like Sasaki. At the end of the day, guys, don't expect a Sasaki type fight. Bill Haney is going to sell the fight like it's going to be a Hagler and Hearns, and It's not going to be that. So I think it's going to be a boxing fight, and I'm going to lean towards the guy that's more experienced. That's Devin Haney.
I'm right there with you. How do you feel, Pop?
I think in speaking of old school, this fight puts me in the mind of Sugar Ray and Hagler. So if we get the Dev that fought against Regis Prograis, I think he'll pick them apart and if he'll pot shot him enough with that, be able to keep him off him enough with that stick jab, to be able to kind of keep him away. But not saying he won't take some punches. And I feel if he does take a Brian Norman punch and can still keep his wits about him, I think that'll give him even more confidence. Because that's kind of what happened with Bud. It's like everybody talked about, Earl Spence's power, Earl Spence's power. And when he finally got hit with it, he was like, oh, this all he got, and gave him, more confidence to go forward. I think if Devin gets that, I think that he'll pop back into himself, and I think he'll handle it. But yeah, Brian Norman, he got that power.
So you're leaning towards Devin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Skills pay the bills.
no doubt. Teach, what's good with you, brother?
Yo, salute to the panel.
No doubt.
For me, like when you look at their trajectory, right?
Mm.
From their maybe last 6 fights or so. Um, so Haney pretty much started off at the top. He beat Combosos, he beat Loma, he beat Regis. So he was at the top, right? And then he just started to, go down pretty much. When he fought, Ryan Garcia. Aside from this Austrian stuff, he went in there with the bad game plan and got, put down. And then coming off of the last fight, which I thought was a bad performance in my opinion, his trajectory pretty much dropped. When you look at Brian Norman's last 6 fights, I mean, he just started at the
Six.
bottom. Yeah, he
Yeah,
just started
I
at the
mean,
bottom because,
if we go back 6 fights, man,
yeah,
I'm interested in your perspective in the last 6 fights. Yeah,
yeah. So his last 6 fight, um, the three, the three before, the last three, he was pretty much at the bottom because he was like coming off of UDs, then coming off of a no contest, and then his last 3 fights, his stock kind of went up. Stoppage with Santillan. The fight before that, I don't put much stock into that one because the guy was coming off of a layoff, but he got the stoppage
Bars.
in that one, and then the last fight with Jin. So his stock is going up. So while his stock went up, Devin Haney's stock kind of fell down. But
but
all
now,
that,
has Devin Haney's stock artificially gone down? In other words, do we put too much weight on the Ryan Garcia performance? You think,
yeah, you got to
considering that
put
that's
weight
one
on it.
fight, or is it a legitimate stock went down? You know what I'm saying? As far as his value, as far as did he digress as a boxer, or did he just digress as far as his brand to the
All right.
space?
As a boxer, I would say not necessarily the brand, but as a boxer, his trajectory just went down from those two, bad performances. So that's what I'm trying to say. Now, in my opinion, right, about this fight, so if it's how should I let me start with Devin Haney, all right? If it's if it's a boxing match, right, I think Devin likely wins on points, right? Because I think he's gonna frustrate, Norman, pick him off with the jab, the clinch, pivot away from danger, all that. Kind of similar to what he did with, Prograis and Cambosos, right? Now if it's a fight, if Norman cuts the ring off, like forces Haney into exchanges, like especially early, like it could be like a tough night for Devin. Norman, he has shown that he could, break down opponents. So if he catches Haney with any clean shots, I mean, he could score, a stoppage, right? But for me, this fight, it's kind of dangerous for both guys. One guy could get UD, one guy could get the stoppage. This is Haney's like most dangerous fight, since that Garcia fight, in my opinion, and and possibly tougher, This is going to be a tougher fight than the Ryan Garcia fight because Norman is going to bring the pressure and relentlessness in that fight. If Haney can't keep up, Norman is pretty much going to control it. But if it's a boxing match again, Devin is most likely going to outpoint him. And just got to remember that Brian Norman hasn't seen hasn't faced a defensive style like Devin Haney is yet.
Well,
So
he actually, I think he did a little bit against Quentin Randall, and he looked regular. Like I said, when he got in the ring with those fighters, once he started getting up into the 8-10 round fights, he started to look regular. That's the whole thing about. I think that's what Bill sees too. By the way, I ain't gonna lie.
Randall was part of the that 6 fight that I was talking about. And if Randall made him look that way, Devin is gonna make it look worse because Devin is just way better than Randall defensively. And in my opinion, I'm gonna favor the boxer when it comes to these things because the boxer just has more tools in the tool bag, and I gotta favor Devin in this fight.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, when you put value into Bill Haney doesn't do anything by chance. Everything is chess for him. The way he moves, and there's a good chance he's seen something, a real hole in Brian Norman's game that he plans on capitalize. Go ahead, Edwin.
You know what? I was just thinking when I was in the gentleman talk. I said to myself, the problem with that Devin Haney fight versus Jose Ramirez was that they already paid him the money, and he already had basically a fight set in front of him. He was fighting a more cautious fight coming off a year layoff and that debacle. There were a lot of factors in here, and I think he didn't want to fumble the bag. That was a more cautious Devin Haney, and that fight right there is going to give you a false narrative of what kind of fighter he is. And what he was just trying to do in that one particular night is not give Jose any opportunity. But when it comes to Brian Norman Jr., I think Bill knows that. I think he still sees the Iron Tiger in his son. And he says, well, son, you had to do what you had to do. The check was already in the bank. There was no need to overperform or whatever. You're going to get paid X amount of dollars for the victory. Just go out there and don't mess up. So there were a lot of nerves, pressures back on stage. And you guys hit it on the head. Look at how that guy gave Brian Norman Jr. those fits. And I think that the boxer, I'm just saying,
No,
I
agree 100%.
I want to add this, right?
Uh-huh.
If Devin goes out there and fight like he did with Jose Ramirez, Brian Norman is going to stop him.
Yep.
You want to know why? Because Jose Ramirez, he cornered Devin Haney a bunch of times, and guess what he didn't do? Throw his hands. Brian Norman is not gonna not throw his hands. He's gonna definitely throw his hands when he cornered Devin Haney. So Devin definitely can't fight that same fight. He got to fight the fight that he did against Regis at the time.
Regis, yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think that that's why I asked, was his stock going down as far as a boxer concerned more artificial than organic? Because there's an argument out there to say that he purposely fought the way he fought against Jose Ramirez based on Bill Haney's instructions. This didn't show, it might not have represented any limitations or any PTSD that he really had from the Ryan Garcia fight. And we all know the Ryan Garcia fight was a result of, Oscarine being what it was, but reality was also Devin Haney approached that fight differently than he approached other fights. In other words, I think a lot of us, I know me personally, feel like if he would approach Ryan Garcia the way he approached Regis Prograis, I think he would have beat Ryan Garcia easily.
But,
what I mean?
But Clay, he approached that fight against someone that was on PEDs, and I agree with everything you're saying, but we can't negate that. He approached that fight. It was a bad game plan, but at the same time, the fight went 12 rounds still. Now, I don't care how much fans want to say, the referee helped them, and it was 4, 5, 6 knockdowns. The fight still went 12 rounds against a Peter. So who knows? For all we know, because Devin Haney gonna be about the same weight as Benavidez on come fight night anyway. So we don't know what Brian Norman Jr. is gonna do against somebody that's going to clearly weigh about 175 on fight night. So that's another thing Norman got to worry about is how freaking big Haney is going to be.
Yeah, it's a factor. It's definitely a factor. Salute Ray Davis. What's good with you, family?
Ray Davis.
You're muted. You're muted.
No, I don't think Devin Haney's going to be that big. As we could see, Ryan Garcia was way bigger than him when on their
but he
fight.
was cutting weight. He was cutting weight.
Yeah, he
this
did
is,
cut
this
weight,
is Devin
but
Haney at 147.
He didn't rehydrate that night real good. He didn't look bigger than Ryan.
Ryan Garcia missed weight.
That's not a good gauge.
He missed weight.
3 pounds.
Devin Haney's going to be hitting the scale at 147. There's a good chance he's going to be north of 170 in that ring. What's good, Ray?
All right.
Ray. Okay, I mean, you're having a hard time. I don't know. So we're just going to, all right.
On my phone.
Yeah, no, he's at work. That's what it is. He's trying to talk while he's at work. So look, guys, I want to tap in a little bit into the and what was the other conversation I wanted to get into a little bit? It's getting about that time for me too as well. I think a lot of this is going to be for tomorrow, but yeah, this is going to be for tomorrow. Did you guys hear about the undercard that Turkey Al Sheik's looking to put underneath the Norman Haney? That it might be Ennis versus Ortiz, and Billy versus Lester Martinez, Atuma versus Bacoli, and Cruz versus Zepeda.
I doubt
Ortiz is going to take that fight.
I
bet you he got hand injuries.
He'll be.
Ortiz gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen.
It might not happen. If it ain't Ortiz, I ain't gonna lie. I think it might be Bakram.
Damn, that's
just off the strength of what I know, how I know Turkey thinks. You know what I'm saying? Ortiz is a possibility though. I talked to Ortiz in Manhattan. I had spoke to him for that at the Fatal Fury. He was there and we spoke about his hands and now he was getting the surgery and he wasn't going to be looking for a fight until about September. So when that came out, I knew that when all the information came out about Ortiz, I'm like, nah, he ain't fighting Brian. He ain't fighting Jerron Boots Ennis in August. He ain't going to be ready for a fight until about September. But I know that Ortiz is in a great position right now at 154. People don't want to acknowledge that. You know what I mean? That it's not about ducking boots. It's about what he's worked towards. He fought 2 hard fights, one against Serhii Bohachuk, and then he fought against Israel Madrimov to become a WBC interim title holder and be in the runnings for a championship fight. So clearly, based off the opportunities that are there of what he's worked for at 154, Boots is just coming into 154. So will he give Serhii Bohachuk the rematch, to make a statement there? Or will he, try to put himself in line to fight the winner of a Sebastian Fundora and a Tim Tszyu? Or maybe even fight a Keith Thurman, who's also in the conversations of fighting the winner between a Sebastian Fundora and a Tim Tszyu. We don't know. Not to mention Jamel Charlo, Errol Spence. Those guys are still in the win, but you never know. Jerron Ennis is a great fight that the space wants to see. But at the same time, Virgil also has, I don't want to say bigger fish to fry, but in a way, because he's still a legacy fighter. He wants to become a champion. If worst case scenario, that fight doesn't manifest between him and Virgil Ortiz, Jerron might be looking to fight Bakram, somebody who they can easily put a fight together for him because he's not with the PBC. He's not with Top Rank. He's not with anybody that's going to get in the way of that fight happening. In a perfect world, I would like to see Jerron Ennis fight Yoenis Tellez. I always say that, and I believe that's the fight I want to see him fight. But I just don't think anybody's checking for that fight.
Why not Madrimov?
No. Madrimov just came up with a loss. No. I'll be honest with you. I'd like to see Madrimov fight Serhii Bohachuk. I would like to see that fight come together because that was supposed to be the original fight that was supposed to happen.
Clay, you don't like the Madrimov fight? Because I feel like, he coming off of a loss, but also it's a good introduction into going into the 54. I mean, it's like it's his first time moving up in this weight class. You know what I mean? Virgil Ortiz moved up to 154 and fought 2 welterweights. And then he fought that Russian kid that whooped him all up and down that ring. So I think
Jerron's is different, man. Jerron's is coming up as a unified lineal champion, man. It's like
I hear you, but
You know what I mean? Just like he just kind of holds the weight. And like I said, thinking the weight, just Turkey's into those hard fights, man. He's gonna put you in there with the best fight he can put together.
Well,
And
let's play a little chess. You said Bud fought Madrimov. That's a common opponent. If you're even going to play with the idea of Terrence and Ennis meeting up, possibly that's
if
something
you're
that
gonna
you can
play
just
with
look
the
at.
idea,
Wait, you had it. You had it.
is the
You
fight.
had it. You were going in the right direction. You were going in the right direction. If you're using a measuring stick, right? Yes, he can fight Israel because also Ortiz fought him. And if Jaron Boots Ennis was to fight him and beat him better than Ortiz and show even more dominance than Terrence, now that's a measuring stick because they all have a common opponent.
Yep.
Jaron Ennis doesn't need a measuring stick. He was already supposed to fight Terrence. What he has to be concerned with is how do you get a fight with Terrence? If he already has a common opponent with Terrence with David Avenesian, right? He doesn't need the common opponent. He needs a piece in his pocket. He needs something in his pocket that makes it to where the Terrence fight has to happen. And where that piece, in my opinion, is Yoenis Tellez. Yoenis Tellez is holding that WBA regular or interim title right now.
Yeah.
He beats him. He takes that title. Terrence Crawford has the regular full super title. On the back end of a loss of Canelo Alvarez, if Terrence Crawford's looking to make another fight, the fight that would make sense is at 154, fight his mandatory at that time, which would be Boots Ennis, or vacate that title and he becomes elevated to a WBA title holder, and now he's in a unified title contention with anybody else in the division. Now, him fighting against Bakram, I don't like that fight. The reason I don't like that fight is because I don't want to see him going back into another rehydration clause. You know what I'm saying? With that IBF title. I would like to see him get a title and fight Bakram and unify and get around that rehydration clause. But like I said, I know how Turkey thinks. And that fight would be a crazy fight.
Yo.
Salute, Ray. You back?
There you go.
Yeah. Salute everybody. No,
Yo,
actually,
what's up, Ray?
you hit the nail on the head, bro. Like 100%. Yeah, fight with somebody like first of all, Madrimov would be, if he fought Boots, would be his third tough fight for Madrimov, right? At this point, is Madrimov depleted or not the same fighter? Because if he gets knocked out by somebody like Boots, does that even make anybody see that he's the same fighter? Then they'll be questioning Madrimov. They won't even question. They'll question actually Terrence's win. They won't even question the other two wins. They'll question Terrence at that point. So that doesn't do nothing for Boots' legacy or status. What he would need to do is fight somebody that's going to be a tougher fight. If you want to put him on the same page with somebody, Clay hit it right on the head. Take the road of getting in the way. Getting in the way of the fighter is the best way of doing it, right? We've seen that where it helped and where it failed of getting in the way of WBA, WBC, things of that nature. We've seen where those sanctions have let people get in the way and force fights based on regular champions, super champions, or franchise, etc. We also seen where they were avoided. So that tells you what type of fighter that you have on the other side of the street of that argument, and you can use your imagination to make whatever sense out of it you want. But when it also comes down to what a boots fight, tell us is a good fight. I mean, Wojciech's a good fight for somebody like with a Virgil on the other end, which I think he only had that one loss of Virgil, and it's a tough competitive fight. What many people thought he won, that would be a great fight for him. And sitting on the other side of that, I don't want to see the IBF fight, because even though that's probably the best route for everybody, Boots hasn't had a fight at 154 yet. So why put him in a tough
Exactly.
fight right off the gate? You know what I mean? That's something that I would think he had to work to. I think somebody like
Charlo.
if that would be a good fight coming up, or what's the dude that fought Charlo that lost real bad to Pandora? Erickson Lubin
Tim.
would be a good fight. It sounds crazy, but you know what? It's a no risk, no reward situation, because no one thinks he's going to lose to Erickson Lubin, but it gives him a marking. You know what I mean? It gives him a grade, because if he dominates Erickson Lubin and destroys Erickson Lubin, then people are going to be like, "Yo, Boots is the truth." If he fights Erickson Lubin and it's a good boxing match, then they're still going to give Boots credit for beating a good boxer. So it's a no lose situation for Boots in that situation, unless he loses the fight. So I think there's a lot of high hopes of him moving to 154, and I think those are the options that I would put on the table for him. Other than that, I think all the other ones are just kind of like fan favorites.
What about one-time Keith Thurman?
That's
He ain't
not
gonna
even
fight nobody.
just Steve Thurman already made the point twice. First, he didn't know who Boots was, and when he found out who he was, is he's not a gatekeeper. Remember that? So
Yeah.
I don't think Thurman wants to fight. Besides him running his mouth, I don't think he will fight anybody like Boots
Okay.
unless he sees something he can expose.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I think Keith Thurman will be a good fight for Boots. As far as for Boots, but I don't think Keith Thurman wants no. He doesn't want to do
Right.
that.
No
Keith
smoke.
Thurman wants to keep his name. Keith Thurman waiting on Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora. He's on the PBC protection program. They're going to put him in a situation that makes sense for them. They're not going to let him.
And Josh Kelly,
go
you
in.
guys didn't even bring him up, so he's not even a possibility. You guys think at 154?
He,
I mean, he's ranked
he's
number
a
3.
possibility. He's actually a legitimate possibility off the strength of. It depends on how Turkey values him.
Yeah.
As long as Turkey's willing to pay for that, that's a fight that would make sense for Boots, to be honest with you. I know it sounds crazy, but if Turkey's willing to pay for that, that's a great tune-up fight for Boots, and I would take that fight just to stay busy.
Okay.
You never know. Josh Kelly could be celebrated by Turkey. Turkey like them European, you know what I mean? He might put it together for him on the strength of trying to get a Virgil Ortiz fight later on down the line. Because keep in mind, Boots wants to fight in August.
And
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
I think that'll be a good fight.
Yeah, that'll be a
Welcoming
good
to
fight for him,
154.
and that still keeps him in the conversation of the November card. But as far as that November card is concerned, it's got to be a big fight. And I think if it ain't Ortiz, I'm telling you, I don't want it to be, but I got a feeling it's gonna be Backlund.
What's holding him from fighting in September? That's on the undercard.
What say it again?
What's holding Boots from fighting on the undercard in September?
Because Boots wants to fight in August.
Huh?
Timetable.
Yeah, because if he fights in September, he can't make the November card. So August would be the month, in my opinion, that he would fight if he's going to fight before November, because November is the big card. And I don't think Boots would come up to 154 as much as Eddie Hearn's been pressuring him to go up there and miss that card. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I'm not going to miss that November. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to miss that November card. Salute to HLD in the building. Salute to Schwepper Vince spot in the building as well, man. Salute all you. Hey, by the way, we got like 59, 60 people in the building. Please remember to hit the like button if you haven't done it yet. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, take an opportunity to go ahead and do that as well. Thank you guys for being up here. I'm not going to be up here too much longer. It's about that time for me.
Yeah.
You guys need my on? I pop off because I got to get back to work.
Yeah. Claymore.
Salute, Ray. Salute.
Well, peace, everybody. Peace, Ross Clark.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Salute, Ray.
Yeah, what's up, round one?
All right. Claymore, I'm about to hop off.
All right. I know it's
All
late,
right,
man.
yo. Thank you for having me on the panel. You guys have been amazing. Everybody in the chat, salute to the channel. Congratulations on your success, and may your channel prosper. Hey, don't forget to hit that like button, guys.
For sure.
One.
Thank you, Edwin.
Peace.
Yeah, guys. Tomorrow we're gonna talk a little bit about start talking about this Edgar Berlanga and Shakur Stevenson card is getting close to that time. Edgar Berlanga just had a face off with Hamza Shiraz. I'm loving the energy that I saw there. I think Hamza Shiraz is dialed in. I think Edgar, I don't know, man. I'm still leaning towards Hamza. Man. But it was a great face off. I think Edgar is super dialed in too as well. But he's gonna have to have his emotions in check when he fights,
right?
Hamza Shiraz, and it's gonna be interesting to see how he deals with that. And Shakur Stevenson looks like his hands might be full circle ready. It looks like his hands is good, man. And we'll talk about that because everybody's worried about his hands, including myself. But did his hands heal from that surgery? Did the surgery do it? Did it finally? Do we got a Shakur Stevenson with a 90+% hand?
He says he's going for the stoppage.
Listen. So when you built on Kid Austin earlier, talking about how he beat up Devin Farmer, my first comment is when you asked, is Kid Austin that guy? It's like, well, that speaks to both sides. Is Zepeda that guy? Does he hold the power that people ask? Is Shakur going to be able to stop him? Is it just a volume punching that Shakur feels that he can punch through and he get the stoppage? Or is it Zepeda really has power where it counts? That's what it's going to come down to, because I mean, it looks like Shakur might be in a good space right now, especially coming off that Devin Farmer Kid Austin fight.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, and Shakur says he punches harder than Zepeda, so that's
Right.
interesting. You know, the reality is we haven't seen Shakur fight so long with good hands. We might have forgot something that he needs to remind us of on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens, man. But it is what it is, guys. It's about that time. It's about to hit the 3-hour mark.
Salute, Blake. Salute, y'all. I'm out.
Yes, sir.
All right, boss.
Peace out.
Guys.
All right, Pop Shop. No doubt, no doubt. Look at him. Peace, Ray. It is what it is. Thank you guys for showing up tonight, man. We did the late night show, a good showing, good amount of people showed up, man. Thank you for all the interaction, all the comments in the chat, man. Salute to you guys. Salute to all the super chats that came in the building supporting the channel today. That was very important to me, and important to the channel. Tomorrow morning we'll be on at 11 a.m. regular time. Thumbnail should be going up in a few minutes. Catch us in the morning. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start getting into that. We're going to talk a little about the Amanda Serrano card as well. Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor card as well. We'll tap into 168 a little bit more, and whatever else pops up in the news. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Salute. It's your boy Clay Moraine. It's an ATP Combat Media Show, man. Until the next one, we out.